Well, welcome everybody to the HRO Adventures podcast, number 14. This is Dave, and I'm here with Rusty. Rusty, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Dave. It's glad to be back with you again, and man, I am excited. This is going to be a great show.
We're coming at you from East Wenatchee with a special guest. You want to introduce our guest?
Absolutely. This is a guest that I've gotten to know the last couple of years. They have been coming out and using Hidden Ranch Outfitters, bringing a group out there, and I'm not gonna take all of his thunder.
There you go. Leave him some thunder.
That's for Cortland here. So, but it's a veterans group, a nonprofit that's been set up. Cortland's been great to work with. They come out. I am so pleased to be able to have these guys come to my place, to be able to use my place for what they're doing. It is such a great thing that they're doing, and getting to be able to watch you guys. And I got to have dinner with you once, and Jackie cooked the steaks, and so I got to hang out for a while. So that was kind of cool. But anyway, yeah. So we have Tour of Duty, and we have been talking about this on some last of our podcasts, Cortland, just to bring you up to speed before leading up to your golf tournament, your fundraiser.
Oh yeah.
And so we've teed you up, so everybody's excited to hear from you.
So don't let them down.
You won't. I'm confident. You're going to be great. So, but anyway, we have Tour of Duty here. Cortland Martin is the founder and starter of Tour of Duty, ran the fundraiser and everything that we had. It's been very, very pleasant to work with when we sponsored a hole. I'd never done anything like this before. And so, but he kind of helped me out and helped me through it. And we just had a blast hanging out for the day. And so, so we're going to turn it over to you, Cortland, kind of let us know.
We're in his man cave, so thanks for inviting us up.
Absolutely. If you're all watching this on YouTube, this is a really cool spot. I'm telling you.
Thank you. Well, thanks for coming up. Thanks for sponsoring the golf tournament. That was a welcome surprise, hearing from Dan, asking about it and kind of figuring it out and saying, hey, Rusty's interested and wants to give her a go. So, and coming out to your place is probably the highlight.
That's a cool place.
I love it out there. I wish I had more time to.
Do you have as many pictures of the barn as I do out there?
Right,
that barn that he has.
Yeah, or watching the craziness that just comes through the yard, or waking up in the morning and just there's just nothing else. Yeah, right. It's just
one of our podcasts, the antelope came through. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So.
Dave goes, I thought there was antelope around here. About that time, an antelope. Well, there is one right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Thanks again for inviting us up. And tell us, let's start with, what is Tour of Duty? What does it do?
Well, so Tour of Duty is a 501c3. We have an outdoor program. We have a support program. We have an R&R program. And then we are in the process of developing another program that is aiming to assist with eliminating and preventing veteran suicide. That's
nice.
Very new. We're calling it Project 22, and it's got a roller coaster of its own that we're trying to tackle and work through. So this is the first time I've mentioned it publicly, even.
And 22 is significant, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And if I'm going to put it out there, if you look into the 22 a day posted out by the VA, that number is incorrect.
Yeah.
They even put it on their website that it's 22 from suicide, but there's 18 more a day who die or succumb to injury sustained from an attempt at suicide. So the number should be displayed at around 40. Yeah. So reading that was, it still gets to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. So anyway, sorry to bring it down a little bit there, but
no, it's important.
We've got our outdoor program, which, we come out and we do a hunt with you every year, which we got to get scheduled. It's coming up quicker than we think.
I've already put you kind of penciled you.
Oh, perfect. Even better. And then we do a big game hunt a year. I'm going to try and get 2. We'll see how that works. It kind of changes my seasons too when it comes for my hunting season.
Sure, it does. I bet.
Our R&R is probably one of our bigger ones. We go out in the town and we pick up gift certificates for restaurants, and we do weekend getaways, date nights. And what we do is we put those up on our private Facebook page, where it's veterans and our team members only. And we'll put out, hey, here's this thing to I don't know, Red Robin, right? Dinner for two, and we'll post it up, and in 20 days we select a winner, and we mail it out, and they go out and they're eating on the nonprofit. Sometimes we'll throw in a movie, dinner, hotel stay, just depending. So
Way
that's
cool.
kind
Very
of what
cool.
that looks like. We got our support program, which kind of opens the doors if we find a veteran who's just in need, and we're kind of trying to figure out how do we work with them, what can we do for them. We've got the availability of our support program to kind of figure out how we can aid them. But we also do care packages. So we do build these care packages. My living room looks like a Walmart exploded. I'll tell you what. And we build these care packages, and we send them out to folks that are deployed. We do that once or twice a year. It ain't cheap. Shipping
Nope.
is ridiculous now.
Yeah, it is.
I think
We've done
our-
a lot of those
Yeah.
to APOs, and it
Yeah,
is,
I think our last
more
one-
expensive than what's in the box. usually.
Yeah, precisely. I think we spent over between $400 to $500 on our last one.
Wow.
It was only like
He's going out to a unit or something, or a specific individual.
So typically it's one of our board members, myself or another board member or team member knows somebody who's deployed, and we'll link up. Or
Yeah.
we've got one of our board members who's currently active. He might be deployed. So it's like, hey man, give me your address. I'm sending care packages, and he'll share it with everybody in the ship or whatever. Or
Nice.
we'll reach out to somebody and send them wherever. So just kind of variables there. And then we have our unaccompanied program. Our unaccompanied program is our funeral services. So we, this is kind of what got us started, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. But the unaccompanied is a veteran or active duty who passes away with no family or friends to essentially put on a funeral, take care of their life after, right? And so we step in and we assist with that. We work with the funeral homes and stuff like that. Matter of fact, last week I got a message from somebody. They had one of their friends had just lost their son to suicide, and so they reached out to me and asked, how does this work? And so I kind of that has kind of developed into assisting families work through the funeral services of those that they've recently lost through suicide and whatnot. So,
Right.
we're ever changing. Like that
Oh,
Project
man.
22 is coming up, and just trying to tackle what we can when we can. So,
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
And how many? How big is Tour of Duty? Like, how many people are involved at volunteer-wise? Do you know?
So we have 4 on the board currently. I just sat down with a gentleman last night who's interested in joining the board. So we're hoping to get him sat down with some team members and
Good.
the board and get them interviewed and see about getting them on board. So we got those. We've got Cody Stentz. He's one of our guys that just shows up to our hunting trips, our fishing trips, whatever, to assist. He'll come over here and he'll help me load the truck, even if he's not coming. He'll show up and do that. We got. Let's start with our board. Sorry, let me rewind. Myself, president and founder. Okay, we've got Jonathan Handall. I've known him since 2007. He is one of our board members. Currently filling the role as secretary. We have Jose Solis. He is also a board member, local to the Wenatchee Valley. Johnny is actually out of Marysville, Washington. Then we got Steve. Steve is a special character. Steve is an active duty officer who is a BM for the United States Navy. So he's down in San Diego right now, stationed down there, and so it's tough. We kind of make it work. I was just trying to get a board meeting scheduled last night, and it's like, I'm busy that day. I'm not busy that day. I'm busy that day. So it's juggling. So there's our board. You've got my wife. I tell you what, there would not be a Tour of Duty without my wife. My wife, we need something. She runs the town. She takes care of it. We're coming up to your place. I forgot something, or she's picking up the groceries, and she's bringing them up. She's putting them in the shop refrigerator, and we've got the coolers. She's getting us dialed in, ready to go. She helps with our golf tournament. We'll talk about that more later. But she manages all of our volunteers for that.
Okay.
And then she kind of just puts everything together, and she goes, "Hey, slow down. We got this. What do you need me to do?" And she's like, "Okay." She doesn't care if it's it's cleaning out the truck so that I can load more stuff in it. It's whatever she needs, whatever I need. She's there and she jumps in. So she is.
Fantastic.
Yeah, she is absolutely fantastic. So she's our volunteer manager and sponsorship coordinator, kind of working on that. So she's official there, and then we've got our Danielle. She's out of Montana. Recently, she moved. She's actually going through a grant writer course that we're putting her through, so that she can write grants for us. We've not used grants before. Not the fish like the so there's grants where you got to do all this paperwork and you got to report, and they got grants that go through the government and all that. We've done grants where it's like simply apply and have a conversation and then there's money there, right?
Yep.
Which is great. Most 95% I would say of our money is fundraised. Okay. Those donations, the grants and stuff like that we've done thus far, just simply fill out the paperwork, have a conversation like we're doing, right? But now we're like, hey, we're trying to start this new program that we need lots of money, right? When I started this, I never wanted to have employees.
Yeah.
Employees just create another problem, right? And it's not the people, it's the paperwork, it's the documentation, it's all the L&I stuff. It's just the stuff that goes with it. I just didn't want that. So anyway, she's on board. She's going through a course, and her and I are working closely on Project 22. And I've got somebody in my back pocket, Jake Craiglow. He's a guy I went to school with, actually, and joined the Navy, got out of the Navy, and now he's up in Leavenworth.
Oh,
excuse me.
And Leavenworth in Washington.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a
Right,
gonna say.
not Leavenworth Prison
Yeah.
in Kansas, right?
the military listeners
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, yeah. No, Leavenworth, Washington, which is so I call that home. That's where
Okay,
there you go.
grew up going to school.
It's like
there
when you
and
say,
everything
I'm
else,
going to Bellevue on the East Coast, people look at you like, what's wrong with you?
so- right? There you go.
Major mental hospital.
Right? So he's going to step in and he's going to have a big part in our Project 22. We think, outdoors for me does something completely different than the average person, right? That's my therapy. That's where I go. That's where I need to be when I'm in a bad way with myself, mentally, whatever. And so I use the outdoors, obviously, very selfishly for that purpose. And he's like, man, if it works for us, why can't it work for everybody else? Mm-hmm. And so he's going to help us with that. And then who am I missing? Let me make sure. I don't want to be that guy. So we got Cody Stentz, great guy, fisher. Oh, we got Justin. Justin Wisemore is a Marine Corps veteran. He also owns his own fishing company, Guided Fishing.
Oh, okay.
And he takes veterans out on salmon trips, kokanee trips, at no charge to them. So he
Nice.
stepped up as a team member, and he does some great things. Matter of fact, he just took out a couple Navy vets out for I believe it was salmon or kokanee out on Lake Chelan, and they were done in 2 hours.
Oh,
Limits, just bada bing, bada boom, and he was done. He's great. Justin's a solid guy, good dude. We've had his boat in here doing new flooring and stuff on that. So yeah, good dude.
Very cool.
So those are kind of what our programs look like. That's what our
Yeah, and then
our team
hundreds
members
of
are.
volunteers when things pop up.
Yeah, so our biggest one when we do things is the golf tournament. That's where the wife steps in and she gathers up about, I think we had 18 or 20 volunteers this last year for the golf tournament. And man, they embrace the suck. They're sitting out there all day in the heat, the wind, whatever it be, and they just sit out there and they're the happiest people on earth. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I struggled through standing out in the sun like that all day. But we take care of our volunteers. I think that's really important, because if we don't take care of the people that help us make this all happen, then we're not going to have the people that step in when we need them.
Yeah.
So we feed them. They get breakfast, lunch, and 2 drinks.
Wow.
And if they need something else, we'll probably take care of them. We hook them up with a red shirt. We've got our Remember Everyone Deployed shirts with our logo on the back, and so they get those and they hang out at the hole, and yeah, it's great. I mean, we literally could not do what we do with the golf tournament.
I totally
without
enjoyed
them.
it. It was fun.
Well, there's
I'm glad.
definitely a theme with volunteer stuff I'm doing, stuff that you do, that we have a supportive and engaged spouse that
Oh,
is
yeah.
behind the scenes. We wouldn't be able to do
Absolutely.
it without them, right? And it
Well, yeah, we both know
everything's
Rusty can't
successful.
cook a steak
yeah,
that
yeah. Yeah, you think a rancher could cook a steak, right?
You would think, but that, yeah. Hey, I married right. Let's just.
Hey,
Exactly.
she does amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's guys
Makes it
who want to
look
come back. I don't
effortless,
want to
right?
hunt. Can I just come
Yeah.
for the steak?
Exactly. Well, let's get into your so folks can listen to your military background, and you can discuss as much as you want, but just give a quick synopsis of like kind of where the basis is coming from, like when we say embrace the suck and all that stuff. We know we
Yeah.
stood out there on guard duty and all these other
Yeah,
ridiculous
so-
things, right? It can't get any worse than what we were doing.
Yeah, so my military started before I could even get in because I was actually disqualified
Okay.
from joining the military. So I grew up with what they call ADHD. So I
We
was,
didn't have that back when I was a kid. so
Right,
you're obviously
so-
older than I am.
Yeah, so I was like, I'd
Or
never
younger.
heard of it. My parents never heard of it. So I had it and was medicated, and that was a big deal. But the bigger issue was that I got hit by a tree.
Oh.
Like, yeah, I know. I didn't hit a tree. I got hit by a tree.
Wow.
So I had a double compound fracture, left tibia, fibia. So I spent months in a wheelchair, months in crutches, and then months learning how to walk and learn to run again. So when I went in, they just like, yeah, hard pass, dude. We don't want you. And so my family jumped through hoops, and finally, by writing a congressman or senator or something, however it went, ended up getting approved. And so at that point, I enlisted in the Navy. With all those fancy dancy waivers that they give you. From there, I went to boot camp, A school. So I was in the Navy. I was an ABH.
Did you go to Chicago?
Yep, the
Yeah.
old Chicago. Yeah, so I was an aviation bosun's mate aircraft handler.
Okay.
And so after A school, I came home and went straight out on a deployment. So I went, effectively, I was a crash and salvage guy. I did my time as, the blue shirt or whatnot, but my thing is I was hardcore focused. I want to be crash and salvage. So being a crash and salvage guy, you're out on the flight deck. We're bringing in planes. We're launching planes. You're out on the deck, and we got emergency aircraft come in. You're running underneath these aircraft and putting a little pin the size
Gear
of a
pin?
pencil
Yeah.
into the landing gear
Oh,
to
yeah.
prevent it from collapsing. And it
Probably
freezing-
ejection seat pins
yeah,
and all
so
that stuff. Huh?
if
Canopy
we
pins.
break open that canopy
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
got to safety the seat, the ejection seat. You got to remember how to shut down a F-18 or whatever other aircraft that's on
Start
board.
mashing buttons.
Yeah, right. So TFAB-O. That's how I remember to shut
Yeah.
down an F-18. So got to remember the hoisting weights, all that good stuff, and then
Because you got to get it cleared too once
Yeah.
in your situation. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then on top of that, you're doing all of this in an aluminum firefighting suit. So you're sitting in the Gulf and it's 120 degrees out, and then you're sitting on this non-skid, as it's called,
Yep.
for the top of the aircraft carrier where the aircraft land. It's called non-skid. They don't tell you before you become an ABH or an AB that it's going to be hot as
Yeah.
sin there because it's hot and it radiates heat. Oh, and by the way, we're going to slap you in this aluminum suit and bake you like a baked potato.
We used to call them baked potatoes. So,
Yeah. So I went on my first deployment shortly after boot camp. I went to A school and then went home for 10 days and flew out to
Okay.
my first deployment. I came back smaller than when I left A school.
Oh, yeah.
So it was always, deployment is a really good diet plan, especially if you're a crash and salvage sitting in one of them potato suits. So yeah, so that's kind of what I did there. I started on board the USS Nimitz. From the USS Nimitz, after 5 years, I went to Texas, where I went to what they call 7012 school, which is the Air Force's Fire Academy.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
So left with my Fire 1, Fire 2
Is that
hazmat.
Lackland or where's that at?
That is Garland.
Garland. Okay.
Yeah. San Angelo.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to
San
say out by the
Angelo.
B1s, probably, right?
Yeah. So it's out there. Did 99 days and was out. Yeah.
So I was stationed in Del Rio, so I was south of you by a
Okay.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, the edge of the earth going, why would anyone
Yeah.
want to be here?
kind of sort of thing, right? Like,
It's like, holy cow, it's
Well, now
hot
you go
down here.
hog hunting if you go down there, right?
well, I'm sure they could, right? That wasn't something that was even fresh in my mind. Like,
Oh, really?
That wasn't something I even thought of.
No,
then.
these schools are nonstop.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And, oh well, yeah. That's the other thing is
Yeah,
like
just
it's
gotta
hot as
study and
sin
graduate.
at 4 o'clock at night. So you're getting up at 3 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
doing class at 3:30, and you're done by 2:30 or whatever. Right? They adjust for the temps, but you're pulling hose, you're running fire drills, and you're in this gear all day, and simulation fires and firefighting and everything. You're dog dead tired after that, man. Like that'll shut you down. So yeah, after Texas, I moved back to San Diego,
Okay.
which is where the Nimitz was originally stationed when I got there. And then so back out to San Diego, I was stationed on San Clemente Island. If you don't know about San
I
Clemente
know
Island,
where it is.
I'll tell you, just Google it. It's kind of cool to look into. Once I got into San Clemente Island, they sent me out to EMT school, became an EMT for the Navy, obviously.
Right.
And so I was stationed out on San Clemente. They've got a small airfield. And so I was airfield, and then they've got a structure house, and I was part of the structure house, and both structure and aircraft houses. So
both. So your structure and
Oh yeah,
and,
oh yeah. So I had all the certs for aircraft and fire,
Very cool.
structure fire and wildland. I was one
Yeah.
of the only, I was the only Navy guy to have a wildland certificate,
Oh wow, that's
red
fun.
card. So that comes from my experience prior to joining the service. I was my grandfather was a firefighter. My dad was a volunteer firefighter. My little sister was a volunteer firefighter. I was a volunteer firefighter. I was rolling hoses and diapers, is what I tell people, right? That's just how far down in the blood it goes.
Nice.
So, so then from San Clemente, I had I had my orders changed, and I went to the USS Ford when it was being commissioned. So I was I'm plank owner on board the USS Ford, and brought up a young fire crash and salvage team, which one would be dumbfounded that they brought those guys from boot camp, A school, and then they're straight, never been deployed. This is their first ship, and we took them from zero to hero, I guess is what you would say. And it was really cool just to see those young military minds come up from, looking back like, man, I was that guy. Well, it wasn't just one of them; it was a whole crew of them. And so coming into that, getting them working with the senior leadership there, and
That's
getting them all
cool.
trained up, and yeah, it was something else.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
cool.
shortly after I got there, I ended up going to Pensacola, Florida, for some live fire training with that crew. At which point is where I got hurt and sent me to a downward spiral through the medical process in the military. And so I had knee surgery, ankle surgery, all these things, and went through a medical review board, which is where they said, hey, man, you're unfit to be in the military anymore. And that's kind of heartbreaking. I was 10 years in, roughly 10 years in at that point, and I'd still had 2 years left on my contract, and I was going long haul. Wife and I had agreed that, like, hey, we're at a point now where it's the point of no return, really, and it's that point where, even Dave, I'm sure you hit that point too, right? Like, it's like, man, well, I've already come this far. We'll finish out and do the 20 and we'll go home. So that was kind of the direction we were following, and good Lord said, hey, got different plans for you, buddy.
Oh boy.
And so, after they deemed me unfit, I was talked to my legal counsel, and they said, "Man, you ain't gonna beat this, right? You're not gonna be able to stay in, and there's nothing more you can do here. So take it and get on." I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's it. So, a matter of, I don't know, I can't recall, but it was probably 20 days. I was on my way out the door.
Wow.
And no job, right? No job to speak of on the outside, right? Everybody's like, well, why didn't you go firefighting? Man, I'm legit so
Yes,
busted
you
up
gotta
from
check
that.
that
It's like,
box that you've been medically
Yeah.
discharged and nobody will interview you,
Yeah.
right?
So it's a little
There's A lot of
different.
issues.
So I had all the certs; they were still active. I was still good. I still had an active clearance, and just there's no way. Like, and besides that, like, are you going to be the guy that says, "Hey, I can do this," and then you got to carry one of your guys out and you can't do it?
Can't do it.
So busted up, whatever. So anyway, ended up getting sent home and landed back home in East Wenatchee. We almost landed in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were driving home, and man, I'll tell you what, we were driving through, and man, we almost hit like 100 deer driving
Oh,
to our
yeah.
hotel. And it got to the point where I'm doing 20 mile an hour on
Yep.
this like 45, 50 mile an hour road. And I'm like, look at all these deer.
We've done
And it's
that
like,
same
oh
thing.
man, over here, there's another one. I'll tell you
Or the
what.
pronghorn.
Yeah, they're all over the all over. I'll tell you what. If the military knew, they'd probably write a safety brief about it.
Oh,
Okay, like they're just all over. So we get through and we're sitting in South Dakota, and my parents like, we want you to stop. We're putting you guys up in a hotel. I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll drive through. It's not a big deal. Like, I'm young. I'm fine. I enjoy driving. And they're like, no, we want you to stay. And so we stayed. And we're like, wow. In the morning, we're like, wow, this is beautiful, right? Like, this is amazing.
Like the Black Hills and stuff.
You
Yeah,
got
it's
deer
gorgeous out there.
everywhere.
Yep.
You got Mount Rushmore just miles down the road. We're like, wow. My wife and I were like, what if we stayed? I'm like, what? Yeah. What if we did? Like, how cool would that be? Like, I can call and have our household good move changed, and we'll just.
You're going to lose half of it anyway. So.
Yeah, right. Like, it's going to either be broken or they're going to lose half
Must have
of it.
moved,
So,
I don't know, 10 times as a kid. Every
Right.
time the mower and the weed whacker never made it. It
Well,
was
that's-
it was like a joke among the kids. Like, I bet you the weed whacker doesn't make it.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So mine was the Harley.
The Harley,
My
oh,
Harley got
yikes.
damaged. It was like
yeah,
$3,800 worth of damage. Anyway, another story, another time.
yeah.
So we almost stayed in South Dakota, and we woke up one day and looked at our little family, and I got a wife and 2 kids, and yeah, we need to go home. We need to go home. So we ended up moving back. We almost stayed, man. We were so close.
That's
And so-
funny.
Yeah,
It's a cool
so
place.
we ended up moving
Got a lot
back.
to
Very
offer
cool.
outdoors, yeah.
And on our way out, we went to Mount Rushmore, which is super cool.
Yeah.
My daughter was old enough to remember it all, right? But my son, he wasn't. So I'm sure the wife will drag us back. I'm okay with being done traveling because I've traveled. I did some math not long ago. It's like over 70,000 nautical miles traveled. So yeah, it's quite a bit. So I'm okay with not traveling. She, on the other hand, has not done
Yep,
enough traveling.
wants to get out.
She wants to get out and see
Yeah.
some things. Yeah.
So anyway,
Absolutely.
brought us back here, and so here we are, East Wenatchee, Washington. I lived in town and found a way to get out away from
Cool.
the city life. If
There
you
you
will.
go.
I mean,
Well, we'll
not
have to-
Not that East Wenatchee is much of a city, right? So
Well, we will have to get your wife in touch with Dave's wife. She works as a school.
oh,
And so
okay, very
her
cool.
travel is nothing.
Yeah.
And Dave flies all over North
If
America.
I never travel
Never
again,
stops.
I'd be fine.
Yeah, yep. There you
I
go.
only travel when I'm getting paid now. Yeah.
So yeah.
You don't travel for luxury.
Yeah.
I'll go to Alaska as long as we can go fishing.
As
No,
long- Yeah,
Years
there you
ago,
go.
we
There
bought
you
a travel trailer because the last thing I want to do on my day off is go to the airport. So, and put up with that. It just, it just gives me anxiety walking into the airport. Like, why are they doing it this way? This has been 30
So-
some years and they have not changed the process.
Yeah, I
it
have-
doesn't work.
I have flown probably.
So, yeah. It's
Let's
funny.
see. There was Texas, Colorado, Arizona. I've flown 3 times, I think, since I've gotten out.
Yeah.
And it is probably one of the most stressful things I can do.
Yeah, it's not
Really?
fun with a
Yeah.
family and kids and
Yeah,
trying to make it to
that's-
something.
Yeah.
you know.
I don't know what it is, but it is like like for me, I don't know what it is, man. It's brutal. Like
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be, but that's the way it is.
yeah, right. I don't understand why it's
Yeah.
so hard
This
for
is
me.
actually
Like
pretty
mentally,
simple.
I don't get it. But it is what it is.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, last
Absolutely.
week I was coming from Redmond, Oregon to SeaTac, or I said last week, it's a couple days ago. 3 o'clock in the morning show, 4:30 they should be loading for the 5. Then, 3:45's coming along. It's like, they're going to load a 737 in 10 minutes. Like, I mean, I already know this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And then we landed and made up a couple of minutes in the air, and then it was folks, it's going to be 20 minutes for a gate. And it's like, it's not like this flight just popped up. This is on a schedule.
Yeah.
You know it's coming. And I was at the airlines, 25 years ago, I guess, 24 years ago. And I had to leave. It was like, I cannot do this every day. They know we're coming. How do you not have a parking spot?
Right.
There are empty planes that are, shut down for the night. Push them out of the way and create parking spots. Like, this is not hard. And so it reminded me, like, yep, it was the same airline. Or same parent airline, I guess. So, yeah, it was like, yep, nothing's changed in 25 years. It's the same run I used to fly.
Yeah.
Still has the same 21-minute delay. It's like, this is
Every time.
annoying, right? So, yeah, I know what you mean. Well, so with going over to Rusty's and stuff, doing outdoor and hunting and fishing and all that, give us your maybe growing up or however you did outdoor stuff, hunting and fishing, and like what's your involvement. I know we talked
Yeah.
a little bit about being archery guys and stuff. So let's shift from the military stuff to the outdoor stuff, and then we'll tie into
Yeah.
our duty.
So I guess my outdoor stuff started when I was a turd in my dad's pocket, as I like to say. My grandparents owned acreage up in Lake Wenatchee.
Okay.
Since I was a turd in my dad's pocket. So we'd go up there every weekend. I lived in Wenatchee for some time, and then we moved up to Lake Wenatchee with them. But we'd go up there all the time, and it was acreage upon acreage of just trees, ticks, bugs, horses, turkeys, whatever. Right? Like, it was just that fresh smell. It's like the best car freshener you could ever have. Right? Just nonstop fresh air and just a peace. My son is clearly taking after me, filling his boots with dirt and rocks. Like,
There you go.
I just
There you
had
go.
to pull all the boots off and dump them out, and there's
Yep.
a bunch of slate rock in there.
Yeah, he just loves the dirt. It's
Yep.
just good.
So,
Absolutely.
I grew up in the outdoors effectively, like that's just, and it wasn't like, hey, don't do that. You're gonna get hurt. No, it's like, go outside and play.
Yeah.
And I got to
Yeah.
a point, I don't know, I was whittling sticks at, probably 6 or 7 years old. Like,
Oh yeah.
my grandfather got me a knife, my dad got me a knife, whatever.
Yeah,
It
we
was
all
like,
had our buck knives. So
Yeah.
yeah.
bust that joker out, and we're out
Yep.
whittling sticks, And so my grandfather, I love him to death, and they're down in Arizona now. But my grandfather used to have this saying, and he's like, "Let me show you this old Indian trick." And now he's got some native in him. How much I don't know, but he wasn't saying it to be negative. But that was his saying. Okay, and he took me out in the woods one day, and he's like, "Let me show you an old Indian trick." He goes, "Grab them clippers." And so we grabbed a pair of clippers, and I forget what kind of tree it was, but it was like a willow tree or something.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he just lopped off this stick, about 6 foot long, and he goes, "All right, let's pull out our pocket knives." And I got a stick, and he's got a stick, and we're whittling just this little ring around the top and the bottom of it. I'm like, "What are we doing?" He's like, "We're gonna make a bow." And so here we are, we're whittling our own bow. And then, we had horses and all that good stuff. And so he's like, "Now go grab a piece of that string from around that bale of hay." Run over there, grab that, and cut the knot off and tied it up and hooked it to this new makeshift bow, this willow bow that we had just caught. And he showed me how to do it. And mind you, I am young, right? I mean, 6, 7, I don't know. And I can't get it to work right. Like, I've got so much slack in my bow line, you couldn't launch a pebble, right? I mean, this thing is just ridiculous. And my grandfather's like, "Yeah, see? Ping," doing his thing. I'm like, "All right, cool. Can I have yours?" He goes, "No, make your own. Like, fix it." And so he worked with me and kind of taught me how to fix it. And so, we didn't make our own arrows at that point. we just used some old aluminum ones. You know, back in the day, they didn't have carbon fiber.
Right.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was
They
no
just-
carbon. Yeah.
Yeah, they just had
Absolutely.
them.
I learned with aluminum.
Yeah, they had aluminum, and so we'd get my grandfather's target rejected, meaning they didn't hit the target. They were rejected from
They're
the target,
bent.
and they were bent. So we'd use those for my dad or my grandfather, and we'd use those on these makeshift bows. So that's kind of where it started, you know.
Okay.
And then from there, my grandfather, he'd go up to Alaska every year and go salmon
yeah.
fishing. You know,
Okay.
my dad and I would go out pheasant hunting, and we'd do some grouse hunting together. We'd
Probably
do-
good grouse hunt up at Lake Wenatchee.
Oh yeah, I loved it. My dad gave me the nickname Eagle Eye because I'd see things before he ever could. And you know, a grouse sits in the shadow just right of the tree, and you can't tell it's there. And I'd be like, oh, there's one. Where? You know, and so we did plenty of grouse hunting, pheasant hunting
That's
growing
fun.
up, and then my grandfather did a lot of deer and elk, and my dad did some, but nothing too insane. I didn't get my first deer until I was an adult.
Oh.
But you're
Wow.
talking to the guy that was out fishing and shooting bows at robins, which probably wasn't the best decision back then. But yeah, I mean, riding dirt bikes and four wheelers and on the outdoors, just anything that I could to get out
Absolutely.
there. You know, my grandfather used to take us up the mountaintop, and we'd pull out bikes and ride them down.
Yeah.
Like, why
Yep.
go through the effort and have to ride all the way up when we could just do the fun part and ride all the way down? So I love being in the outdoors so much that I tried to rollerblade down a gravel driveway.
Ooh.
I still have scars from it.
I was gonna say.
Still pulling gravel out, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. So I learned to. My grandparents had a pool up there in Lake Wenatchee, so that's where I learned to swim.
Yeah.
Learned to hunt, learned to fish, practiced casting in that very pool.
There you go. There you
So
go.
yeah, that's kind of where my outdoors started.
So the hospital up there still has the Cortland Martin room.
Funny you say that, actually.
More like a wing.
Let's talk about that real quick. So
Now that we heard the tree fell on him. I'm
yeah, so funny
It's
thing
all
about
making
that
sense.
is if you guys got listeners that go through an EMT course in Leavenworth, let me know if they still teach it this way. But when I got hit by the tree, I was in Lake Wenatchee logging with my family for firewood, okay? And we had downed a tree, and it was very unique. When a dead tree is dead, it's light at the top, heavy at the bottom. This one was heavy at the top, light at the bottom. And so we were pulling it uphill, and it popped up and swung down. Like swung, like shh. Yeah. In a kind of a weird baseball bat swinging motion. And my left foot was stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think it was a log. And so I jumped and whack, it got me, right? And so I try and get up, and I do like this half push up. And I'm like, Dad, I don't think I can get up. And so my uncle, man, this guy ought to be an Olympic star because he just jumped over the hill, up the hill, just to me, whatever. And he lifted me up. He throws me on the tailgate. And I look down and I'm like, oh, that's my bone. I got bones poking out and I'm trying to
Oh
touch
my.
it. My dad's like, stop, dude. Like, chill out. And like, what? Like, my dad's trying to wrap my leg. So I've got a garbage bag, a tourniquet going on. And I'm just trying to touch my bone. And I'm like, wow, that hurts a lot. That's really cool. And so I'm on the
Oh, my.
tailgate of this truck, and they rush us into my fire department because I was in the fire department at the time. Well, volunteer, right? So I wasn't old enough to go on the fires yet, but I would volunteer all the time. I'd go there with my grandfather and my dad or whatnot.
Roll hose.
Yeah, roll hose, right? Wash rigs, do whatever I could. And so, ambulance waiting for us. We made a 45-minute trip up that mountain down in about 10, 15 minutes. And to those people that were riding the horses, you didn't help. There was horses blocking the road. And all I can remember is my mom bawling her eyes out, following us down the mountain. My dad laying on my leg. And I look back and my mom's in tears. I'm like, it's going to be okay, Mom, And
Wow.
we get to the fire station, and Tim, he probably God's gift to me that day. Tim was my ambulance driver. We are still friends to this day. It was the quickest he's ever made it from Lake Wenatchee to Wenatchee. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
He made it stupid fast and got in.
So no stopping in Leavenworth.
Yeah, no, there was no pit stop in Leavenworth. This was
They knew, don't stop here. We're going anyway.
So this was back in. I joined in 07. So 07 I joined the Navy. I think I was 16. So what was that? 05, 04, 05. I joined, or I got injured, and so ended up in a wheelchair, all that good stuff. So anyway, that's how that kind of. I was in the outdoors when I got hurt, right? So
Yeah, always.
yeah, right.
I got fishing hook scars, and
Yep.
yeah, that's how I learned to sew myself up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely.
And I was a volunteer fireman, like I said, and that's a unique setup. You and I, you get injured or you go to a call, it's usually somebody you knew, or at least
Yeah.
you recognize, right, from
Yeah.
Safeway or something. Yeah, so unlike maybe a paid guy that works downtown and isn't in his neighborhood, usually when that, we had Minitors, I don't know if they still
Yeah.
have those, but when that Minitor went off and you got there, it was somebody that was a teacher or somebody's parents or... so it adds a unique dynamic to helping people because it's people that are, bleeding and wiggling and screaming and all that. It's
Absolutely.
like I was just at these people's house a couple weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting that, like you said, you stayed in touch with the guy that was driving.
Yeah. Well, years later, my dad went through the EMT course.
Yeah.
And they actually teach my scenario
Ah.
in the course when he went through it. And he's like, that's actually not how that happened.
That's like,
It went like this. He's like, well, how do you know?
Now, if we were in the Air Force, you would have been in charge of safety. That's what happened. The safety guy was the guy who broke the most stuff.
Yeah,
so.
there you go.
Yeah.
So
He wasn't
our fire-
knowledgeable. He had been in trouble so much, like
Yeah.
maybe he needs extra safety
There you
training.
go. So on the fire department, you got the Elmo Award if you
Oh.
there you go.
cost most damage. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
All right, so we've gone through your like the military tie-in
Yeah.
and sensitivity to other veterans and stuff like that, and then the love of the outdoors. So let's circle it around to how did Tour of Duty come up? Because I'm guessing it wasn't like you just had a great idea at the kitchen table. There's probably an
No.
event or something that was like, we got to pitch in here.
No, so when I got out, I was more focused on, like, I didn't know really what life was supposed to be. Like and I struggled with this as a parent. Like I don't know how to parent my 18-year-old daughter. Like I was in the military. I was gone. Like
Gone a lot, yeah.
yeah. Like so 17, 18 years old. That was a learning curve for that I had no real history to go on. Right. So after I got out. I was in a struggle bus. Like I was on that struggle bus. I was late nights, too much drinking, too many bad choices, negative impacts. I had put God on the shelf, metaphorically speaking, obviously. And man, tell you what, good thing he didn't put me on a shelf because I would not be here. I struggled something fierce. From depression to suicide thoughts, like like I went through the array of emotions from being happy to be home and be able to have my family, and to the range of I don't even know who the heck I am.
And what's next, right?
Yeah, right.
Because you've been assigned something with some sort of responsibility and tasks and a chain of command, and the next day you don't have any of that
Right.
support structure or
Exactly.
anything, right? It's like you're just
Yeah.
swinging in the wind if you're not careful.
So I wake up without a purpose, I do something and it's like, why am I doing this, right? And so, in short, the answer should have been I'm doing it because I'm a father, I'm a husband, and right? That should have been my answer all along, but it wasn't. I didn't see it that way, and it took me a long time to figure that out. So, through my struggles of getting out with my depression and everything else that I dealt with, kind of made me realize, like, it sucks getting out of the military. Regardless of how you do it, it sucks. Sure, there's folks that like, oh man, getting out was the best thing I ever did. God, I did it. Best thing I ever did. But those of us who struggle to adjust, it is something brutal.
Well, especially an injury or something traumatic, and you're out. Like,
Yeah,
this
like-
wasn't something I had planned
I
for
wasn't done
on
yet.
terminal
Yeah.
leave
Yeah.
or anything, right?
Wasn't your choice.
Right,
Yeah.
100%. And so
That can really add to the already depression
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
with an injury
Absolutely.
and things like that, and now you dump that on somebody
Yeah,
too. That
I-
also your income, and I'm not sure what you're planning to do now. And you're like, well, I hadn't thought about
so
this.
the good old VA and their infamous
Mhm.
infamous wisdom in that. That was another struggle, was getting out. It's like you light switch. By the way, you're going home. You won't be in the service anymore. By the way, you still have all your bills. You still have a family to support, and you just don't have a way to do it anymore. Right? So when I got out, there was just so much of this struggle. I didn't know how to process it, and I didn't know who to talk to. And when I went to the VA, they're like, "We don't have any record of you." I'm like, "What are you
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about?" Well, it turns out that I had a VA rep from when I originally got out. They were in Virginia
Hmm.
because that's where I separated service from, technically. So that's where my VA rep was. Well, they dropped me, so I was in this void, as well as my severance pay from the service. So I'm sitting here trying to figure this all out. A guy who's never gone through this process, the process that was never explained to them on their way out the door.
Oh, you didn't get an exit briefing?
No, definitely
Yeah,
not.
okay,
no,
yeah, I didn't
no.
either.
They put you through this.
It's
this
on the
course.
checklist, but there was no one that could do it that
Right.
day.
So they put you through this TAPS class, the Transitioning Assistance Program, I think is what it is. And I don't know what they do now. I've been out since 17. But even then, it was more or less a joke.
Have a resume.
Yeah, like here's how you build a resume, and the resume you built wasn't what the employers wanted to
No.
see. And who knows when last the people that were teaching you how to build a resume actually filled out a resume. I don't know. I just know that it didn't cover, hey, when you get out, you're going to need to deal with the VA. Here's how. Here's the contact information. Or what you need to do is simply go to the VA, make a phone call, and jump through their hoops until you connect with somebody. They didn't tell you that there's local guys that just got out not
Yep.
long ago that are happy to help.
That's right.
They didn't tell you that the VFW is
I was
as
just
old,
thinking
as
VFW,
old as
yep.
it is. They still have a lot of good information and can help.
Yep.
With filing your VA
Get you your
claims.
paperwork going.
Yeah, get your
Right.
paperwork going, all the things.
Help you with your record
Now,
search. Yeah.
I'm a lifetime member of the VFW, and I've never even been to the VFW. And I hate to say it, but that's just what it is. I'm a very busy individual, and I just don't have time. But I like to support it. The VFW is one of the oldest nonprofits serving veterans and doing some great things for veterans. So I gotta support. But I tell you what, they are the guys that can help you when you're the guy that's looking to do a claim and try and get that compensation for your hearing or your bad back or whatever. They ain't charging you like these Ponzi scheming companies out there that, oh yeah, we'll help, and then they help you and you got to pay them a certain percentage or whatever. So, so anyway, sorry, rabbit hole there.
No, but it could be better on helping a guy out. And
Yeah.
and then you add in, what if it's a TBI kind of guy
Right.
that can't
Right.
do this on his own?
Yeah.
His wife's trying to figure it out, or other way around, could be your spouse who wasn't the military member
Right.
trying to get your records and trying
Absolutely.
to navigate all this. So, the fact at least you have the cognitive part and can wade through the paperwork, right? But there's going
Yeah.
to be injuries where someone has to do this on your behalf. They don't even know where to start.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's got some
Well,
holes to
is the
it.
VA going to even accept that? He didn't fill it out.
Well, that's what I mean. It's
Right?
like,
Right.
jump through
yeah,
those
this
hoops.
is usually
So-
their first introduction into this government paperwork.
right.
And
So that's kind of
could be.
when I came to and I had this aha moment, like, dude, you're stupid. You're drinking your life away. You're up at all hours of the night, and like your family needs a better man. Your family needs the man that was before all this crap. Like,
Yeah.
They need him back. They figure it out. And so, there was a dark time, and it's tough, but I'll share it because I think it's important. there was a day where I decided it was it.
Oh,
This is
man.
it. I'm done. And boy, it's tough to look back on.
I'll bet.
My amazing daughter, my munchkin, she knocked on the door and said, "Dad, I need your help." And in that moment, I was like, man, my daughter needs my help. Who's she gonna ask if I'm not here?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And that was kind of a moment of
That'll sober you up, won't it?
Boy,
yeah,
no
holy
kidding.
wow, did that
No
sober
kidding.
me up, you know? And if she didn't need me, my son certainly would.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But and I don't think she knows it, but she saved my life that day, and I,
Wow.
you know, and not to mention my wife saved my life several times because
Yeah, yeah.
depression is not something that you just get rid of like that. It's something that sticks with you.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I was diagnosed with PTSD when I got out of the service through the VA and everything. They're like, dude, you got PTSD. I'm like, no, I don't. And I argued with them, like, no, listen, dude. And they ran me through it. I'm like, I'm not a combat guy. Like, I'm just not a combat guy. They're like, yeah, but you still got it. I'm like, yeah, but whatever, right?
Hey, I've had some traumatic floor buffer issues. I mean, yeah, there's nothing like
So
being
big.
yanked out of bed and running a floor buffer for 3 floors. Yeah, you talk about traumatic. Like,
Yeah.
sheesh.
So, you know, shortly after I had that situation with my daughter knocking on the door, saying, I need your help,
Mm-hmm.
there was a time went on, a Marine Corps veteran was in assisted living, hospice, whatever it was. Mind you, this was years ago. This was March of 2020. Okay, so there was a Marine Corps veteran who passed away and didn't have any family or known relatives or anything, and so my buddy Jose Solis, who is also a board member, had posted on Facebook that his caregiver had mentioned something and created a post on Facebook.
Okay.
And I caught wind of it. And at the time, I was in real estate. I was a sales director for a local real estate firm, and I was doing Facebook videos, live Facebook videos twice a day, morning and the afternoon. It might be on my way to work, it might be after work, but I was doing them twice a day, and I slowed down to once a day. And so I found out about this, and that was tough, right? Hearing about
Yep.
a Marine Corps vet who did everything he could and then come home to die alone. And so I took to social media, and I worked with some folks. I was calling all different agencies. You know, I was calling the VA, which is effectively a waste of time, sadly. I called the police departments. I called the sheriff's departments. I called fire departments. I called
Wow.
everybody. I called the chaplain at the police department at the time. I called the VSOs, and I called the VFW. I called everybody I possibly could think of. And what went from being a lone, an unaccompanied Marine being laid to rest alone, went to having 200 plus attendees at his funeral service,
Wow.
including an escort, a police and
That's
fire
cool.
escort.
Wow.
So
That is way cool.
yeah, so that's kind of where I had this, like, like my mom's like, get in there. I'm like, no, I was fresh out, you know, like I say fresh out, like I was out in 17. This was March of 2020. It doesn't seem like long, but I was still dealing with
Mm-hmm.
everything that I was dealing with.
Absolutely.
And so my mom's like, yeah, you should be up in there. I'm like, no, I shouldn't. That's not why I did this. I don't need to be. And I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. And I'm walking back to the truck, and I get stopped by this reporter, and I get stopped by this
Oh, my
guy
goodness.
and that guy. And then it becomes this deal that they put in the newspaper, and that's not why I did it. You know, I just did it like, man, if that was me,
Yeah.
I don't want, man, as selfish as this may sound, none of us want to go out alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, we don't want to be just so insignificant in life that nobody shows up to our
Nobody.
funeral services, right? And so the point of the matter is that anybody who serves our nation is not insignificant in any way, shape, or form. Even the guy who got dishonorably discharged, they're significant in some way.
Still sign
Right,
sign the paper, right?
Yeah, sure. They might have screwed up some way somehow, but
they
still,
volunteered.
They still did it, right? And I know guys that got DQ'd for something just absurd, and it's like that's crap. That's just the way it is sometimes, you know. So that's kind of where the idea started because I started doing some research, and surprisingly, our unaccompanied program is the least used because it's so hard to get the access that's needed to facilitate those things. I've tried. I spent hours on the phone dealing with the VA trying to connect with the right person. So if you're the right person and you're hearing this,
Yeah.
you get a hold of me, 100%.
All right, so
There you
where can
go.
we find Tour of Duty?
Yes,
Just to get it out there.
tourofduty.org.
So it's .org,
Yeah,
right? Because
money
there's a
right
couple
there.
Tour of Duties out there. So make sure you
Yeah,
get the
there's
right one.
an old TV show
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
older
yeah.
than all of us, I think. And, there was another one way out in Tennessee, but I didn't even know about any of them until I came up with Tour of Duty.
I
You
don't
know.
know. When I went to searching on it, I could find it pretty
Well,
easy.
that's
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we've revamped our website and everything else. It didn't used to populate like that.
There you go. There
So-
you go. Well, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So what is the money that you raised at the golf tournament?
Yeah.
Where
so,
does that go?
So that supports our overall mission,
Okay.
right? So our mission, and none of our team members are paid. Our board doesn't get paid for their time. Our volunteers don't get paid. It all circulates back into the admin, right? Like our board meetings are all via Zoom.
Yeah.
So we have a Zoom where we can keep our stuff recorded. It's in there. We have a CPA who takes care of our books because I'm too busy to
Doing those
just-
990s, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
too
yeah.
busy. Well, I do the 990s.
You got to keep
but,
up on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You
the-
could lose your status, then it's even more
Then
expensive.
it's even
Yeah,
more
so-
exactly.
So we have a gal that does our books for us. She's amazing. She takes care of us. So she does our books, and then that's we obviously have some admin fees, but then it supports like coming out to your place.
For the pheasants. Yeah.
For the pheasant hunt, doing these. Some of these trips aren't cheap, right?
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
people are like, "Oh man,
Absolutely.
it's just a fishing trip." Well, I'll tell you what, one person on a boat's $250.
Yeah.
So when I send vets out on boats and out on these trips, I don't want them to be with some random stranger. I want them to be with other veterans. So I booked the boat.
Right.
I say
Absolutely.
I, but it's
Yeah.
we, the nonprofit. We
Yeah.
booked the boat. We're not taking the guide's not giving us a handout. We're not,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not a free trip for us.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
paying
as
for
the
it.
economy moves around, right, you get maybe they could donate something last year and this
Sure.
year they can't, right?
Right.
But you still need
Yeah,
to use
absolutely.
them.
So we've seen
Right.
that, but we've also seen where some of these companies that we support by going out on their boats and going hunting with them or whatever, they've done the freebies
Yeah.
and they've been burned,
Yeah.
and so they don't want to do them anymore.
They've been asked 1,000 times.
Right. And so here's the thing, like we don't raise money to keep it in the bank. We raise money to put it where it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, and that's taking care of vets.
Take care of vets.
So
Yep.
so from our hunting trips, our fishing trips to our funeral services, I think last year we covered I believe, I could be wrong, I think it was 2 funeral services of some folks that their service member passed away from suicide, and one was something else, I think. But we actually stepped in and covered the bill. One of them couldn't get his dad's remains until he could afford to pay for everything. Well, he couldn't afford it. He was without a job and he was out of state. They were estranged. We stepped in and we're
Yeah,
like, hey,
SGLI's all shut off by then, so there's not any money coming,
here's the
right?
thing. Here's the thing. Most people don't know this. When you die as a veteran, the VA will give you $500 to $1,000.
Yep.
But guess what? It's only a reimbursement.
Mm-hmm.
So figure it out
So
until
somebody's
then,
got to
right?
submit a receipt. and
Right.
Where do
Well,
you send that?
From a guy who's paid the bill, and I say from a guy who's paid the bill because I'm the guy who's dealing with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But from the nonprofit standpoint, we're the ones who've paid. We've gotten some help from the funeral services, which is amazing, right? saves us a few bucks, a good amount, but it's still thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, funeral
and-
is expensive.
yeah.
Yeah.
They are very
And the
expensive.
VA's like,
Here's your
500,
flag
here's,
and-
here's
yeah.
$1,000, and it's like, I just feel like we owe them more, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we support that. That's where those funds go. The golf tournament is a big fundraiser for us. We do the golf tournament. We do a beard competition. No
Oh, that's
joke.
right. I did read about that.
Yeah, so we do a beard competition.
Forgot all about that.
The
There's some
beard
good pictures on
competition
there.
is a blast, and you've got you got kids to women and adult and dudes. A buddy of mine, Big Jake, he is down in Tri Cities right now. He's got one of the most long and luscious beards you've ever seen in your life. And I'll tell you what, that dude braids it and throws it over his shoulder. I mean, it's long. And so we're out there doing these, beard competition. They got motorcycle handlebars. They got all sorts of things. Super cool fundraiser. And so, without these fundraisers, we're not doing any
Right.
of this. You know, when I first came up with this and started working and getting this all off the ground, it was a lot of it. Like we get some support, but I was paying for things as it
Yeah.
went along. Like it was
Yeah.
coming out the pockets. And so each one of our board members, they donate $100 a year. On top of that, their time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's invaluable.
It's
Yeah.
an immense amount of time. So all the money that we raise goes back into the mission, making all this happen. We're getting to a point where we're looking at this Project 22 and where it should be to support, and we'll at some point probably have some employees, which I mentioned earlier. That I have no desire to have
Something.
employees, but it's something that just has to happen in order to support and
Oh, yeah.
and serve the community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Well, the golf tournament was a blast. Your wife took care of us. I'm just saying. I didn't have one of the red shirts. I wasn't a volunteer, but
Yeah.
where we, since we sponsored the hole, we had our little pop up there, and people would come and talk to us about the pheasant hunting and different things.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. It was so much fun to be able to see. Okay, this guy's coming through, or this group's coming through, and these guys are just having a blast, and they're just
Yep.
pounding some balls, and they're just having a fun time, and we're just laughing and joking
Yeah.
with them. And then the next group comes in, and I mean, they're like super serious, and it's got to be like, one guy's going, "Okay, quiet,"
Oh,
as they're getting ready to tee off. And I'm just trying not to laugh. I'm going,
Yeah.
the group in front of you didn't care a bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the one group, you had the Mulligan tickets.
Oh yeah.
And so I didn't know anything about the Mulligan tickets, and neither did Dan. Brett had heard about Mulligan tickets. I think he had seen it or
boy.
something.
Yeah.
So we're just sitting there, and all of a sudden this guy comes over and he goes, "Here, I'm going to take a Mulligan here," and he hands me a ticket.
We probably should have briefed you a little bit better on this. I'm sorry.
so
In hindsight,
never underestimate a good briefing.
I had your back though. Thanks. I looked over at Brett, and Brett goes, "Shh, I got you." So the guy goes over and he hits again, and then the next guy, and everybody hit, and then that guy went over and hit again. Oh yeah, we can use those mulligans. I bought all those. Let's use them. So then they were. All of a sudden, I'm collecting these and I'm handing them to Brett, and I'm going, "You keep track of these, okay?"
Oh,
'Cause
boy.
I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do with them, but they think we're supposed to have them. So just ride with it.
Oh man! So this is where I'm going to tell you what happened here. So we ended a little bit later than we normally do, and we figured it was because a little bit backed up on certain holes.
Mm-hmm.
And the mulligan deal.
I was one of those holes.
Yeah, well, the mulligan deal. It's funny you mentioned that. The mulligans, you're only supposed to use 2 per hole.
Oh,
Yeah, it is what it is now, but that's funny. And you know what's even better is you got to see the same people that were there, 4 years ago when we started.
Oh, okay.
We've
Nice.
carried over guys that have been there every year since the start.
Wow.
that's fantastic.
And shout out to Pat Peterson. He is amazing. His wife Kelly Peterson. They I don't golf. I know nothing of golf except for essentially what I've learned through this. I am the guy that loves to watch Happy Gilmore. Okay, that is my jam. Happy Gilmore 2 comes out. You best believe
Well, it's going to be good.
I'm
We're gonna be
sitting
here at
right
the man
here.
cave. There you
Heck
go.
yeah, I'm sitting right here. I got 2 TVs. I might play them both on the same TV. You know, one here, one there, and just be rocking out.
I'll
but
be over.
It's
There you go.
Come back,
perfect.
Dave.
We'll do it. But yeah, Pat is the golfer.
Okay.
Pat was a Navy Seabee construction
Oh,
guy,
okay.
right? So he thinks he's something special for being a Seabee. But I'm telling you, if you ain't an AB, you ain't nothing. So there you go, Pat. But Pat's amazing. Him and I work very closely on this, and then his wife and my wife all step in, and they
Yeah.
do a ton of work. We're to the point where Pat and I talked about it last time. Like we want to get bigger. We've had folks tell us, man, you need to do a 2-day tournament. You need to do 2 tournaments in one day. And I'm like, listen, man, we're already stretched thin. And I'm like, all right, man, let's figure out how we can do this. And Pat's like, you're going to need another 30 volunteers, and we need a golf committee. We need this,
Yep.
and it ain't happening unless...
Here come the
yeah.
committees. That's
Yeah,
right.
here come the
I'm like,
committees.
oh boy.
And you'll
So-
be lead on every committee.
yeah,
so,
well, that's that.
Yep.
Man, we're getting to the point where I got to offload some things, and I was telling Jamie, a guy that I was talking with about joining the board and working with us, and I told him, like, there's one thing I know for certain through all this is I won't ever give up being the guy who does the outdoor program.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked at me, and outdoors, you know. So when I got out, here's we're gonna circle back to the
Yeah.
outdoors thing a little bit here. But when I got out, I was struggling, obviously, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty clear. But I had gotten a young pup, and I reached out on a group, and they had one of the guys that actually responded. He was in the valley, Chris Mann. Shout out, buddy. Appreciate you. But he had some frozen ducks.
Oh,
So I'm like, I want to train this.
what
this
a great idea.
yeah, I want to train this dog. So, and you know, he was actually the guy that took me duck hunting for the first time ever.
Really?
Yeah, I'd never duck hunted a day in my life, and now I just want to go. Like man, I don't care if I waste a whole case of ammo and don't get my limit. I want to go. It's just a blast. I love it. You know, we
So we
went
need to
out
build a
and-
cast and blast. That's what I'm hearing.
So-
There we go. I see that coming.
We
We're gonna have that.
I have done a cast
Okay.
and blast. I got to be real careful. I'll circle back to why I got to be so careful. But anyway,
We already heard about the ambulance ride. So.
yeah, no, yeah. So anyway, the reason I won't let go of the outdoor program is because that's what keeps me on that even keel, right?
Oh,
As if my
right.
family wasn't a good enough reason,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like don't get that twisted, right? But my outdoors, my hunting is really what it is because I don't fish a ton. I'm not a good bank fisherman, and I don't own a boat. I go out when I can with a couple buddies here and there, and I love it. I truly do. I'll get roasted. I'll have the worst fishing day of your life, and I'll still be one of the best day of mine. Okay,
Yeah.
totally cool with that. But the hunting is where it's at for me,
Right.
and it's
Right.
you know, and being able to share that with my wife because my wife she got her first deer. I think it was year before last.
Cool.
So right here, it was great.
I know you probably get one just outside the house.
Yeah.
Walking by.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of what happened right out the dining room door, actually, for her.
I love it.
And
love
I
it.
said, "Hey, next year ain't gonna be so lucky because you ain't gonna get
Yeah, that'll never
spoiled."
happen.
It'll never happen.
Yeah, it won't happen again because you're gonna have to put in some work. So, hunting is just, and whether you harvest an animal or not, for me isn't that's not it. It's about being there. It's about clearing your mind and just sitting there at with yourself.
Yeah.
And I've done some brutally harsh self-reflection here where, you go in one man into this hunting situation and you come out a whole different man.
Yeah.
And then, with duck hunting's cool because I can take some of the best boys I know and sit in a duck blind and they could be the best shot in the world and they'll miss every single duck and it'll be the best day. because we
Yeah.
roast each other till there ain't nobody.
Absolutely.
There's nothing left of these individuals
Absolutely.
getting roasted.
Well, Dan loves you guys,
Oh well.
and I know you guys request him every year.
Yeah.
And
Oh, this is your guide, Dan.
This is the guy,
Yeah.
Dan. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
And when Dan first told me, I'm going, what are we talking about? And he's going, Cortland. Cortland's they got to do a golf tournament. And,
Yeah.
You know, we should sponsor it. And I'm going, okay, well, give me the stuff. You know, talk to Cortland, see what's
Yeah.
going on. But even before that, what led up to that was you guys asking for Dan to come back. You know, so
Yeah.
Dan I call him up and I said, okay, Dan, they're coming back. They want to make sure that you
Yep.
can that you're available on that weekend. And he goes, oh, I would cancel anything to go out with these guys. And, you know, for Dan, you know, he's got the dogs and he loves to hunt and it doesn't
Yep.
take much of an excuse, you know, kind of
To
like.
get out there.
Yeah. You
Kinda
know,
like
I woke
us.
up in the morning, it's good enough to go.
Yep. I'm breathing.
So, yeah, that's
fine.
right. And he's not a vet, never been a vet, wasn't in the military at all. But the camaraderie that you
Absolutely.
guys have brought
Yeah.
and that he's gotten to see, and then, you know, I think there's a stake involved too. But he wants to be there.
Yeah.
He just wants to be part of that because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time about
Yeah.
hunting camp and everything else. But what you guys bring, and then having that focus where
Yeah.
you guys take your time, you guys enjoy the time, you do the hunt, but then it's okay. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's get some of this teased out. Let's get some of this out in the open
Yeah.
and help these guys. And
It's
get
not.
that.
It didn't start that way. Believe it or not, I kid you not, man. Like, so Dan. Let me start at the beginning here because Dan's a trooper. He's awesome, and you know us military guys, we can be brutal on each other.
Yeah, you got
Oh,
to be
yeah.
careful in front of other people.
Yeah. So I have done this before,
We
and
would
I've got
talk in a certain way that could
yeah,
be
I've
considered
got three
offensive.
best friends. Okay, three best friends, of which Johnny Handall, board member, and Steve. Steve is the active duty military guy,
Okay.
so I'm trying to leave out his last name. So if I throw it
Yeah,
out there,
that's
let's
cool.
bloop it. Not that it matters. You could probably look it up on our, you know. Anyway,
He's busy Facebooking right now.
yeah, probably. So these guys are like my three best friends when I got, you know, kind of life, because I met them both while I was in. And so I've had them in my life since, well, Johnny's been since 07 and Steve's been since probably 12. 2000, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Okay. And then you got my 100-acre neighbor, Cody. You've met Cody. Cody comes out on these pheasant hunts.
Oh,
with
yeah.
us. He's not a vet. He comes out to support. Like, hey, man, I'm the bird dog if the bird
Yeah,
dog
there you go.
fails, right?
Right.
He's there to move boxes, help where it's needed, and just he kind of does his own thing.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. He now serves a purpose, and you know we go out in the field, and it is you feel like this was some weird TV show where these guys don't stop roasting each other. The first year, I think we bought like 20 birds from you for the hunt. We paid for like 20, and I think we got like 8. And so it was a roast show. You would think we were cooking. It was so bad. But I'm like, man, we're gonna take it out, and we're taking these guys out, and we're just gonna kill it. And these guys are gonna have a great time. There's gonna be a lack of birds. There sure was not a lack of birds. I'm just glad we brought extra boxes of shotgun shells because they were terrible shots, and that's okay. 100% okay, right? Don't get that twisted. It makes it that much more fun, really.
Well, you can be great at the range, and then when that sucker
Yeah,
flushes,
when that
right,
thing
all
jumps.
bets are off.
And then Dan tells me, you know, because I always just call and say, how's it going
Yep.
and everything, check with Dan and what's going on. And then I see you guys at dinner. And then, but Dan comes, you know, I remember that first time Dan comes over and goes, these guys can't shoot worth anything.
Yep.
He says, and then he says, because Dan guides quite a bit for me.
Sure.
And so he sees the guys that'll show up and they can't shoot, they can't hit anything. So the birds keep flying.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dan will just keep hunting.
Yep.
Dan
will
won't
shut it
stop.
down, yeah.
No, he'll just keep going. And then you guys go, we're done. We're going back. And he's like, well, there's more birds out here.
Yeah.
And I think Cody ends up sticking around and going out with him. They
Yeah.
they always go back for a second
Yeah,
time when
so-
you guys go in.
Yeah, so I get to the point where my body physically, like
Yeah.
my
Right.
knees, my back, my
Right.
shoulder, my neck, everything. It's just you just can't. And so we'll go back and we'll break for I think it's lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we break for lunch and then another group, the same group can go back out after.
Oh yeah.
So typically it's Cody. Cody goes out and he takes the rest of the guys. And Cody doesn't shoot. You know, us team members, we don't shoot. We're there to support and make sure that
Okay.
everything goes according to plan.
Right.
If there's problems, we'll fix it. We'll get it resolved. We're there to facilitate and make sure everybody has a good time. Okay. You guys feed us super well, right? If you're not going to show up and go hunting, at least you show up to eat. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
right?
that's what everybody says.
There
Yeah,
you go.
Yeah.
So, and your wife's amazing. She's a hoot. She's always been good, and you guys have always been great. And Dan's a character. We're happy to have him.
He is.
And of course, this year he should definitely be there. But yeah, that second go around, anybody who can or wants to can.
Can go back.
Right.
Yeah.
At this point, if we got 3 guys that are staying back and there's only one that wants to, then great. Hey Cody, if you want to go shoot, great, go for it.
Yeah.
But he's like, nah, man, I'm just walking to get. And I think, truth be told, I think Cody just doesn't want to be embarrassed, because he can't shoot either. He's gonna watch this and give me a rip.
It's pretty humbling, though. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, right? Like it's
Yeah,
easy
that'll
to
humble
sit
you
there in the
pretty
back talking all
Oh,
that
yeah.
smack.
Oh yeah.
And then watch, you step up to the plate and
Yeah.
you can't hit the broadside of a
Yeah.
barn. But
And that's the thing about the hunting part. But your guys' program, coming out there, allowing those guys to come into a
Yeah.
very private, quiet place. There's not things going on. There's
Yeah.
not people driving by. There's not people coming in and talking and whatever else. You guys have the place to
Right.
yourself. To be able to have that and have that time to talk to some of these guys.
yeah, it's become one of the most critical things we do, and I didn't
Yeah.
think it was going to go that way, right? So we've done duck hunts, we've done goose hunts, and this year I'm trying to get more waterfowl. I never thought that this overnight pheasant hunt would become what it is, and I thought it would be, like I smoke cigars and I like a good glass of whiskey, so, and I don't mind a beer, right? So we'll sit down, and at the end of the day, we'll have dinner. We might play a few games. We'll sit around a fire if we can.
If we can, yeah.
Right? We'll smoke a cigar and we'll have a glass of whiskey or we'll have a beer, and we'll visit and we'll get to know each other. After we just roasted each other for hours in the
Yeah,
field,
yes.
now we're going to talk about, oh yeah, I got 2 kids, I da-da-da-da-da. Right? That's where this conversation comes. But the last few years, like our first year kind of gave me the dab of it. I'm like, wow, this was impactful.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think it'd be what it was. But then it just kind of just spiraled into sitting down and hearing about people and like their struggles, and like I struggle with sharing my stuff, right? Like I don't
Yep.
like I don't want to sit here and you ask me 20 questions. I don't see a therapist for a reason. Like my therapy is the outdoors.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Like,
Yep.
and I've worked through it, and I continue, right? But showing up and meeting these guys and doing this with them was like, wow, it's and
Oh, yeah.
you just
That's
it's
therapeutic, too.
yeah, like they just open up, and we have Cody there who's a non-vet, right? He's a civilian guy, and he can't really relate to this, but this man is so powerful in his words and the way he approaches things, and he could say something as simple as, "Can you tell me more about that?" Or can you explain what that even means? I'm not a military guy, and this guy's like, oh yeah, no problem. They just hunted with him for a better part of 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yep.
And if you don't want to share something, you don't have to. I'm not sitting there asking like,
Yeah.
what was your worst experience?
We're on the clock. You need
Yeah,
to
like
talk.
hey, let's go.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a therapist.
Yeah.
I don't want to go see one. I'm sure most of these guys don't either.
Right.
We're just sitting here shooting the breeze and talking about, man.
Yeah.
Like we had Billy out. Billy is a great friend of mine now. Billy's fighting cancer for his 3rd time.
Wow.
He's down in I think it's Palo Alto, California, fighting cancer right now. He went out, and he couldn't stop smiling.
Yeah.
It was the time of his life, and
Yep.
he thought he was on his way out.
Yeah.
Like legit thought he was on his way out. That was one of his last hunts he'd be able to even do, and now he's down and getting treatment, and we're looking good. But it was something
Oh yeah.
amazing for him. And
Yeah.
then we've got guys in tears sometimes just working through their things, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Or don't. Like it doesn't have to be like that,
But-
or it can. It's
But it's
easy.
that trust that's been built. It's that you're giving them an opportunity.
Yeah.
Whether they use it or whether they don't, they still get the serenity of the thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They also get to be able to have that opportunity to maybe release some of that, to get that out,
100%.
and it'll give them an outlet to work on in the future.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to get to know you guys. They're going
Yeah.
to get to know the tour of duty guys,
So-
and they're going to know that.
Yeah, these guys that we take out, some of these guys are still talking to each other.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like they're still like,
Yeah.
oh man, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I missed out. That was great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just a very unique kind of culture that we've got there.
That you've got.
There's
Absolutely.
a chaplaincy type of setup, right? So the fire department had a chaplain because he's been
Yeah.
through the test. He's been
Yeah.
through the academy. He's doing the chaplain thing, but he can relate to what it's like to be on the back of the truck or rolling
Yeah.
hose or whatever. And so, sitting around your fire out there or with your guys, right?
Yeah.
It's it doesn't have to be relatable, but it's like you've been there, speak the same language, have the
Yeah.
same vocabulary. And so that's what we talked about before, right? Was we just didn't put a name to it, but like somebody comes from anywhere but comes and hunts with you, right? There's a language, whether we're talking archery
Yeah.
or grains or power or, how many pounds we pull, but there's this common denominator that people begin to open up, right? So that's when we've talked about,
Yeah.
Rusty and I, that hunting camp, there's more to it, and a lot of stuff starts long after the hunt ended, right? That
Absolutely.
there's,
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
and so
Even
you
better.
guys have a chaplaincy, you just don't talk about it like that,
Right.
But yeah,
So even better, most of our folks that we are out there with have never hunted.
Is that right?
Never
yeah,
been on a
doesn't
pheasant hunt.
not a
never been
requirement,
nothing.
right? Yeah,
Yeah. Like
but they've walked in the boots or had the dog tags,
Sure,
or
yeah.
they get the scenario whether they were affected the same way or not,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
But and you
have that
and
common language.
to come do our hunts and our fishing trips. You don't have to be
Yeah,
a
you don't have to
guide
be an
level
expert.
guy. Like clearly, we can't hit the right side of a barn.
And if you did,
You know, like you just
Dan
do.
says you're getting better though.
There
So
you
Yeah, I think this last group actually did pretty good. I think we took home 13 of the 15.
wow.
So I have since not bought as many birds. One year, I think it was I forget, what is this, our third, this will be our third year? Or is this our
this
fourth
will be
year?
your fourth year.
So this is our fourth year. So last year, because our first year was like terrible shots. Our next year was, they were not bad. It was like 10 out of 15. Like, all right. And then the next year it was back down. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get 2 orders. I think it's 8 birds or whatever it is. I think we're just going to do that. And something told me this last time, no, do the 15. And sure enough, I did the 15, and we managed to get, I think it was 13 out of the
They
15.
did 13, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Dan does an amazing job at making sure, like, hey man, how many birds did you guys, get? I'm like, hey, I got 15, and he's like, great, we're finding 15 birds. So he'll find us 15 birds. It's not my fault. It's not his fault that
They'll
they
find
can't
them all
shoot.
for you though.
Yeah.
So the other thing is when we have to do a safety brief. A nonprofit, we have our own insurance.
Yeah.
We're
So
insured,
do we.
right?
Good SOP anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, and I think you've been there. We've done our
Especially
safety
when you're
brief.
walking in lines and
Yeah.
multiple
It's-
fields of fire.
Yeah, where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, understand your fields of fire. Da, da, da. Well, that we didn't start that way. I mean, we did, but we didn't. Right? I thought it was kind of unwritten. You don't point guns at people. You don't
Oh,
point them
yeah.
at yourselves, right? So, I've had lessons learned, man. Like,
Yeah, done push-ups till the sun went down.
man, I went out on a goose hunt and almost got shot in the back of the head.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, by an army guy. And man, I was like,
Yeah, they beat that stuff into us, even in my Air Force.
I was
stuff,
like,
yeah.
holy wow, what just happened here?
You go to a civilian range, right, and your eyes open like, I can't believe they're
well,
doing that over there.
that's-
Yeah.
I was,
We used to get beat for that.
right.
Oh, man.
Well, I was terrified. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't. I wear hearing aids, so a gunshot here over there sounds not too far different.
Okay.
Right.
Right. And so, anyway, we do our safety briefs, and military mindset is you bring your weapon up for a lot of these guys, right? Not bring it down. I grew up bird hunting. It's easy for me to make the difference, because of different type of hunting, right? Literally a different type of hunting. Okay, so Dan, every time I gotta be like, hey man, get your barrel up. Dan and I both like, hey, get your barrel up, That's our biggest like. It's not our biggest thing. Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world. It's just like that's the thing that we have to correct.
Yeah,
Everybody's in the
correct.
low ready
Yeah.
or whatever with the
like,
shotgun,
that's exactly
right?
what they're doing. They're doing that low ready.
Wonder where that came from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I kid you not. Well, it's even better. We had a guy out. He's a 3-gun shooter.
Oh,
competition.
Okay, yeah.
He did not do very good either. It was great. Hey,
That's good.
I love it. I thoroughly enjoy, coming out. I've even thought about doing 2 weekends in a row or doing 2 groups back to back.
Yeah.
I don't know how that looks. I don't know if I can manage that.
Well, right now you're not into the cold part of the year yet.
No, we're not. Nowhere near it.
We're on that
yeah.
weekend where it's still warm.
It's cold here.
In fact,
So-
we're like you said about the campfire. We only 1 year we were able to have
Yeah.
a campfire when you were there because it's still dry, still
Yeah.
pretty warm, and
And then you got that big tree.
tree right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
you do a
So-
like a propane ring out there
Oh,
so
we'd
you
have
can
to.
do one?
That's
Yeah,
something
okay,
we'd
I
have
was
to
gonna
do,
say.
something like that.
That's what we had to convert
yeah,
to. With
and we could move it
trailer
out
stuff,
into the
yeah.
into the gravel
Yeah.
parking
It's,
lot,
but it's not the same. Okay,
It's
a
not-
propane
No,
fire is not
doesn't
the same.
crackle the same.
It
Right?
doesn't
If
have the
smoke
ambiance.
doesn't follow you
if
around.
the satellite
okay?
can't pick it up, it ain't worth.
There you go. So, well, you guys saw my New Year's bonfire. That thing has just started. By the end of the year,
I was surprised you could even have that piled up without somebody yelling at you out here.
Oh,
Private property.
yeah,
Yeah,
not
but with
in
the
an
fishing
H-
or with
you're-
the
you're not
fire
in an HOA, right?
issues.
No,
no,
no.
no. I'm just thinking with the fire apparatus is already stationed and ready
So
to go. Yeah.
the cool thing is that this guy's well prepared for fire.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
Yeah, yeah.
a fire line around the property.
Usually the biggest offenders are the people that work at the fire department.
Exactly. Yeah.
that
I
is.
went to more burn burn
I'm gonna
permit
refrain from comment
issues.
here.
You get a service call for a burn permit.
You can't
it's
plead the
chief.
fifth on this.
Yeah.
On this
Yeah,
spot.
I think
The chief's
I've
got his
better-
backyard on fire. Yeah, exactly.
I do know this guy who had some old reloading stuff.
no.
And hadn't been used, but it hasn't been touched in years. And well, they decided that they'd use it to make some things, and it was really, really super cool. Especially when you use it to start big, gigantic bonfires with lots of fuel, accelerant, and so on.
Oh my.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
many,
pile gets
many
massive.
times been to the chief's house because the backyard's on fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, stop doing this stuff.
Yep. So
Absolutely.
I think having a campfire is a big like I thoroughly
It is.
enjoy
Oh,
it. You know, I actually bought a smudge pot.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know
really?
what a smudge pot is?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I did see that. In fact, you've had it
Yep.
customized.
Yeah. So I bought that out
That
of a
is
company
pretty
out of
cool.
Texas because the one I got that was used in an orchard it just doesn't hold up
Mm-hmm.
over the time. Plus, somebody decided to hit it with a tractor. I
Oh,
don't know
that'll
who would
do
have
it.
done that
I
here.
don't know who would have done
But that one I got, and it is super cool.
Yeah, they are.
But it burns oil, it burns diesel or whatever, and you can use it year round. It's not banned in the It's not banned in the summer because it doesn't emit sparks.
Oh, okay.
that. Well, there's, that used to be the only way to keep from frost around here in these
Yeah.
orchards around here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I knew places that there would be hundreds of smudge
Oh,
pots
yeah.
that they weren't using anymore.
Yeah. Now
in
they
the
now they
winter.
don't use them so much
Yeah,
anymore.
then
that's
so you
kind of
could
an
get
issue.
them. I'll have to keep that in
Cool.
mind. That's a
Yeah,
great
if you need
idea.
it, let me know. I'll find the receipt for it. It wasn't the most inexpensive thing in the world, but it's kind of nice to have.
It is kind of cool
So-
looking.
Well,
It's
especially
cool
when
looking,
your,
yeah.
your tractor's got 6 gallons of transmission fluid.
There you go.
Yeah.
I do most of my own service on the tractor and oil changes and stuff like that. So right here. So it's
Well,
the way to display.
it was funny
the
when I pulled up. I looked at that and I went, "What is that?" Because I saw the customized
Yeah.
the chimney up on it first,
the
and then I
CNC.
went, "Oh, okay, I know what that is."
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
That is pretty
They're
awesome.
super cool.
It is pretty awesome.
Well, guys, we're getting close on time. In fact, we've kind of gone over a little bit. But,
We've had a good talk. This has been
oh, yeah.
fun.
It's
We
been
might have to
awesome.
do this
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Can
down.
you?
I've actually been here pretty quiet. You guys have had pretty much the conversation. I'm just like, wow, this is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Can you tell us where is Tour of Duty today? So we're middle of June-ish. So you
Yeah.
got golf coming up. What else you got coming
So
up like in the
I
next?
have like a 2-second lull,
Yeah.
as I call it, right? So I go from the golf tournament and then I go, right? And I get to kind of breathe a little bit as I roll into the pickup of our outdoor season, right? So we've got our pheasant hunt. I think we do it's just, let me see here. Help me if I'm not mistaken, but normally it's the last weekend of September,
First
first
weekend,
weekend
of
of
October.
October
Yeah.
timeline. And so we'll probably stick to that.
Okay.
That's the goal. It sucks that it's that time because of the hunting seasons. Because
Right.
shortly thereafter, I mean,
Deer
right-
season starts the next week. and
Yeah,
then
you got
we've
muzzleloader,
yeah.
you got archery,
So-
so on. So it kind of sucks because of that, but at the same time, I'm already kind of pressed because I take September for me and my
Right.
wife. Good. Because it's archery season. I'm doing archery as much as I can for now. So I take that time to do that. But meanwhile, I'm still, working with the farmers on doing the big game hunt, the deer hunt.
Okay.
And he's just a buddy of mine who's got some acreage that we've got something worked out, and I'm thinking this year we might do an exotic hunt here in Washington State.
Oh.
Ooh.
There's only a couple. I think there's only one place to do it, maybe two. I don't know. I'm gonna see what that looks like cost wise. That's the goal. We try and focus on first timers, folks that have never taken a deer,
Okay.
a big game animal, more or less deer. But for that one, I don't know. We'll see how it is. The last thing we want to do is to serve the wrong people, right?
Right.
Big part of this is like how many folks can go and afford to go out on a big game hunt.
Yeah, it's a little
Right.
pricey.
Yeah,
is
going out
pricey.
on a guided deer hunt is, I haven't seen one for less than $3,000 in years, and I don't know because I haven't looked. I haven't been out on one
You
ever.
won't find a fully set up deal under $3,000.
Well, there you go. So we like to be able to work something out where, hey, you got a travel trailer, you can bring that up. We'll put you up. We'll figure that out. If you want to stay at a hotel in town, great. We'll meet you at the hunting site. We'll meet here and we'll go. That exotic place that we're talking about, it's up north. They got some cabins. So we've talked to you about doing it, but you guys are slam packed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
My deer hunts are sold out
Years
year
in
after year
advance,
after year.
yeah.
Well, and I don't sell them out in advance.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. It's my podcast. I guess I can tell everybody how I sell my hunts. But
yeah, go for it.
I
You,
guess
you have
myself.
my permission as though you needed it.
so, but I sell all my hunts first week in January.
Okay.
And the reason I do that is when I first started it, 25 years ago in 2000, that first 3-4 years, we wanted people to come back. And so we would offer them, you give us a deposit for next year, you
Okay.
can keep your spot.
Yeah.
And so the guys were having success, and so they were keeping their spots.
Okay.
And so we just said, well, we're not going to stop this. This is a great way to have return customers.
Sure. At that point, it's not a customer; it's a client, a lifetime client.
Absolutely.
Realistically.
Absolutely. And so the rifle hunts super hard to get into because guys just keep coming. The group out of Cali right now, I've got one group out of Cali that this will be their 12th year in a row,
Wow.
and
Okay.
and they don't want to lose it. And to get into the rifle hunts, they couldn't. So they started in archery. So they hunted 5 straight years where they were hunting the first week of September in archery.
Okay.
And it wasn't until one of my other longtime clients,
Sure.
they started buying property over in Colville. And so they started hunting their own property.
Okay.
So they
Opened
left
up a slot.
that opened up a slot.
Yeah.
It opened up the whole entire camp. So
Sure.
I just made one phone call and said, "Hey, I have a camp opening up,"
Sure.
and I had a whole nother camp already ready to move.
Yeah.
So they just moved out of archery into rifle.
So can you blind hunt there for your archery season? How does that work for you?
You can
guys?
blind hunt if you want. We do mostly spot and stock,
Okay.
just because we're so open.
Sure.
We're going to be able to see the deer. We're going to be able to get
Yeah.
and move on them. But there are certain spots where I can't move on the deer. The deer are just going to see us coming.
Yeah.
And so we've got some guys that want to still archery hunt, but they're not physically fit enough
Yep.
to do a spot and stock, go sit on the ground for 6 hours,
Yep.
whatever else. So we need to put a blind up. We need to put a chair in there. We need to get in there with them.
And you guys aren't running bait, especially now. Washington State just changed the laws.
Just
You can't
changed the laws.
Bait for.
And so and with our early archery, the bait didn't work. There was really no way to try to get them to come in to bait because we're not out of food yet.
Right.
So the deer still has plenty of food.
Too many resources.
We
still
even
available.
have that problem in October because in Douglas County it's a dryland wheat predominant area,
Yep, yep.
and all the deer have been born and raised and grown up, and we've seen 100 generations
Yeah.
of deer go through that. That's what they live on in
Yep.
September and October, and into November is the green wheat.
Yep. That
Okay.
winter wheat just sucks them out of
It
the.
just sucks
yeah.
them out.
Oh yeah.
And you can throw out whatever you want, and they may stop and sniff it. They may eat a little bit, but they're going to the green wheat.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's just it's just not.
100%.
So
you want to pattern something. You want to know something
Yeah,
for
yeah.
certain about deer around here. Winter wheat's coming up. They're leaving.
that's
They're
that's
not
where they're
coming
going.
back, yeah.
And so we'll put up a blind in a
Sure.
in a migration zone in an
Yeah,
area
yeah,
that's
sure.
Funnel point.
trying to figure it out how they come from where they're bedding into the green wheat field and back.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh,
Like your
yeah.
field lines.
Yeah, and it works really good for young bucks. It works okay for middle-aged bucks. Doesn't work at all for old bucks.
Oh,
old bucks
duh,
are pretty
they're
much nocturnal.
Educated.
Yeah, they've
Nocturnal.
figured out they're not coming out.
Yeah,
there's
they've gone-
somebody with a
gone
rifle
dark,
that's
yeah.
way over there going to shoot at me way over here,
Yeah.
and so they're not coming out. But we also have. They're also warming up.
Yeah.
We're pre-rut. The earlier the season, the less we'll see them. The later the season, the better we'll see them. But you'll see a little bit that way.
Now-
So that's how we sell our hunts: is all return customers. What I don't have, I will fill that first week in January. And I got guys that are always saying, "Hey, put me on the list, put me on the list," and I'm going, "You can call me.
Yeah. Call me.
You can call me back because I'm not going to start down a list."
Just call each year and see what's going
Just
on.
call
right?
each year and see what's going on
It's
because
way more time consuming.
well,
for
guys
you.
will tell me in February, oh shoot, I want to be on your list. I've been wanting to hunt with you and this
Yeah.
kind of thing. Well, then they go to the show, the Mule Deer Foundation, or they go over
Yeah.
and they buy a hunt.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't tell me to take them off the list.
So now you gotta. Yeah.
So
it
now
becomes
I'm
a
just,
whole list management
it's
issue.
gonna- I'm not going to manage a list, and so
Just call.
just give me a call, and I've got I got 5 or 6 guys that do it, and that's how to get to work in. But it ain't going to happen overnight. It's kind of like your wife's first deer. There's the whole rookie.
The luck side of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Where you're going to be able to get that stuff, and you're going to get in the first guy that calls, and
Yeah.
is going to get in. Most generally, the guys are calling me 5-6
Yeah.
years before they're finally getting in.
Yeah.
And a guy that'll come in and hunt archery or muzzleloader. If I have those spots open, those will open up. Those guys don't seem to come back as much. Archery guys are predominantly do-it-yourself guys anyway. And the only reason that I have archery guys, my archery camps that turn over are all from California.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's right.
All the California. Well, I
forgot
take
about
that
that,
back.
yeah.
I got the one guy from Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
But they come every year. The guy from Minnesota, they don't have mule deer, so everything.
They got all whitetails.
They got all whitetails, and everything's sitting in a tree.
Yeah.
And when he came out here the first year, he was just curious because what we can spot and stock, and so let's do this.
Yeah.
And the guy, he's retired and he can handle that. And Tim's a great hunter, and I've had Tim. I think this will be his 4th year in a row that he's hunting with me from Minnesota, and all 3 years, Tim and I have done a stock that has been epic.
Really?
And and yet he's never killed one. He is still yet to kill one. We drew blood. He shot a buck. We had a buck walk in on us. And this guy's a tree stand hunter. Been that way his whole life. Owns property in Iowa and hunts Minnesota. So he's been a tree stand hunter all his life. And he's a really good shot. We can hit dots in the. He's gonna love the new targets. But he can hit dots in the yard all day long.
Sure.
We
Well,
had a-
different when you're this close to a
Yeah.
deer.
Well,
And it's moving and
like 10
twitching and
feet.
breathing. And
and the biggest thing was we had to shoot up.
Oh, up the,
The buck,
hill.
the buck came above us. We were sneaking around, and the buck decided to take the shortcut and come over the hill,
Which is a
instead of
different
coming around.
adjustment.
It's
than
like a
shooting
calculus.
downward.
It's a
Problem.
little bit different than shooting this way. You're shooting upwards, and
Gravity's a thing.
he
Works a little differently.
Yeah.
and he.
You gotta aim different.
And the other thing is we were looking this way. What happened
Oh.
was we got to the fence.
Yep.
And his guide, which we won't name any names at this point, his guide decides we need to be on the other side of the fence. So, because the deer wasn't showing up, so my idea was, well, I'm going to go find him.
You just dropped
So
a dime
we
on
need
the
to
guide.
We need to, yeah. So we opened the fence, or I'm getting everybody through the fence.
Yeah.
And as everybody, me and the two hunters, and we get through the fence, they're both looking this way, over my shoulder. Me holding the fence, I'm looking that way, and as the last guy comes through the fence, the buck walks right up on the hill, just right above us, just 20 yards from us. And the deer doesn't see us, and I get everybody stopped moving, and I said, nobody move, just stand still. So they're just frozen, and he sees us, but it looks pretty safe, and so he just keeps walking. So he goes from like 50 yards on top of the hill, he comes to about 20. Well, I got guys with bows, knocked up, hooked up, but they're facing the wrong direction. And so he comes down to 20 yards and he freezes. There's too much. We've just never been there before in his view. And so the buck kind of starts to turn around, and so I just told him, I said, Tim, you're just going to have to turn around one solid motion really slow.
Yeah.
And I says, don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just turn all the way around. And I says, it would be best if you were at full draw. But I says, I don't know if you can do that. And he goes, I'll give it a try. So he goes to full draw. The other hunter's blocking it, so the motion doesn't scare the buck at all. We get it all pivoted around. He's a right-handed shooter, so it worked out right. He just pivoted to the left. And now the other hunter never moved, and that covered most of the motion.
Lots of movement.
Great
Wow.
idea.
Yeah.
And as he pulled around, I took a reading, and I told him, I think it was 41 yards. The buck had moved back quite a bit, but he was quartering away. But he turned around and looked back at us. And I told him 41, and he pulled down on the pin, and he let the arrow go. And as we're looking up pretty steep, and as the arrow goes, it looked like he'd shot way over him, is what it looked like to me.
Yeah, 'cause you
Watch
got
Sure,
the
it
arrow
had a big arc.
Right.
because it had the big arc, and
Yeah.
we don't shoot up very often, and I see that arrow going, and I thought he was going to shoot over, thought the arrow was going over, and it comes down and it catches the top 2 inches, and it actually hits the backbone. Okay, and I see the arrow hit and pop the back end of the arrow up. The buck just spins his head around and just takes off, and I see the arrow go limp, just hanging down to his side. And I can see the blood just as he goes over the hill. And I'm thinking, not a vital organ.
No,
He's-
and mule deer in general, big game, are so resilient.
Oh, yeah.
They're so strong. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I was just reading something that somebody had shot a turkey with, I believe it was a crossbow. Legality aside, I don't know. I don't know where it was at, but it was walking around and it was just running around in the wild with this bolt through it.
No, yeah.
This bolt through,
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen deer carry an arrow in its neck.
Yeah.
Because it's just all in the meat.
Yeah, I've seen guys pull broadheads out of
Out of a
the
skull,
skull
or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we had I've actually harvested a buck that had a broadhead in the horn.
Yeah.
The arrow was actually broke off. It had rubbed all of the carbon off,
Oh
and all
my
that was
gosh.
left was just the broadhead in the horn.
Tell me you got
sticking
that
in.
mounted.
Oh, he did.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's on his wall. That broadhead will never come
Yeah.
out, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
We
still-
taped it in
Yeah.
fact, because I was afraid it was going to fall out, and he goes, "It rubbed the shaft off. It's not going to come out." And I'm going, "We're
But
making
it'll be
sure."
your
Yeah, but if it did,
It'd be in the back of my pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to do that. But yeah, but Tim's a great guy, great shot. The very first year there, we had a 4-point, beautiful, I mean, absolutely perfect mirror image, one side to the other, walk right underneath of us as we were standing on a hill in the broad daylight. And the buck came around on us, and I thought he'd already went by us, but he held up in this draw. And the buck, after we didn't show up chasing him, he just come nonchalantly walking around below
walking
us.
through, huh?
And Tim missed him at 44 yards, put one right. He tried to shoot when the buck was walking,
Yeah.
and I had told him, I says, "Let me stop him," and he said, "Okay," and I did. All I did was mew to him, and he let the arrow go. Right as
fall
I
short or go over
right
the
as I
back?
mewed, so the buck just as soon as I mewed, the buck stopped. Well, he was following him, and he let the arrow
Right
go
in front of him, didn't it?
and it went just inches from his chest, and it sticks in the hill, and the buck turned and looked at us, and that arrow hit, and he heard the bow go off, and he turned around and he looked at the arrow. And
Well
I s-
educated
and,
deer,
and I
that
said,
is.
knock another one, and Tim was like, what?
Yeah, we don't practice a
Yeah,
rapid
we don't
fire, right?
we don't practice second
not-
shots.
No, just leading shots.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Think about
So-
it. The muscle memory's not
Yeah.
even set up for that, is it?
But neither one of those hunts were the epics. Those were just the shots that he's got since
Yeah.
he's been hunting with me. The epic hunts was we followed a deer one time for 4 hours, and we stayed on our feet the whole time, and they just kept feeding and feeding, and
Just
and
jumping
for whatever
brush
reason.
to brush.
Well, no, they had come off of an irrigated field,
Yeah.
and they were going back out to lay down, and I just thought, okay, well we're only going to go a mile, and they're going to lay down. No, they decided to go 3 miles.
4 hours later.
Yeah. And we just kept staying with them. And then when they did lay down, we came in on them, and I got no shot.
No shot.
I got 3 bucks laying in front of me, and they're all in the sagebrush. And I don't have any. You can't put an arrow through brush. There's just no way. I've tried it. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
And so I told Tim, I said, we just can't shoot. They've got to get up and whatever. Well, then all of a sudden, the one buck that's 150 yards away, that because they all 4 laid down, the farthest buck away, he's also the biggest buck. The wind was wrong. We couldn't go around on him, so we had to take this one. That buck gets up and walks all the way over and digs this guy out of the brush and tells him to get out so he can lay down. And we're standing right there. And Tim's at full draw, and we can't get the brush out of the way.
Yeah.
And so we're watching this big monster buck. I mean, he was Pope and Young easy. And
Wow.
he comes around and he just horns this other buck. Well, then
That's
I'm thinking,
embarrassing.
I told Tim, I says, we shoot whichever one gives us an opportunity. And he goes, yeah, I know.
I know,
And so-
I know, but I want to Pope and Young.
I want
Obviously,
to Pope and
right?
Young, absolutely.
Everybody does. Who doesn't,
So-
right?
I'm good at math real quick.
That buck comes around, horns him up, and then he lays down.
Yeah.
And so we never got a shot. Well, then the other one jumps up, and I'm thinking, okay, well, we're going to shoot him. He's
Sure.
going to turn around here and at least grunt at this other guy. No, he just turns and walks straight away from us. And I'm thinking, well, this ain't so great.
Yeah.
And as Tim let down, he pulled his deal, shot the arrow in the ground like 3 feet in front of us. Well, when that bow went off, so did the 4 bucks.
Well, yeah, of course, right?
We didn't
That's,
chase him that day.
know that
So
sound,
anyway.
yeah, I know.
But anyway, so our archery hunts are the ways that guys get into
Yeah.
get into that rifle stuff.
Now, you got a
so
whole course set up there now, right? You have a long range course set up, don't you?
we don't.
Oh, I thought you were talking about doing that.
We
Maybe it was
we
Dan.
are. We're supposed to be putting up the lean-to in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I think the guys are coming over around the 4th of July, and we'll put the lean-to up and try to get the pad ready so that we can just order the concrete in and get it
Okay.
down. Right now, where we have decided to put the lean-to up, it looks like we're going to have 1,500 yards that we could go if we want. I'm the guys are trying to talk me into it. I'm not really figuring out why I need to go 1,500. 1,000 seems to be the holy grail for everybody.
Sure, but if you're going to go 1,500, why wouldn't you just go for a mile at 16? What is
17
that? 1760.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh,
I've been playing with my rangefinder. 15's as far as I can go.
okay.
Yeah, we can talk later, not on the podcast. But 1,500 safely, we can do that with the topography that's there, with the backstops that we have.
Sure.
And I've got plenty of steel. I've got a couple of target guys that are wanting to work with us now to put some targets out and want us to shoot them,
Sure.
so that they can have their targets and say that they've got them up there. We should be able to have a plethora of we should be able to shoot 45 degrees
Yeah.
from the pad, so we can have everything from close shots to 100-yard stuff all the way out as far as we want to go.
Yeah. Would you let a guy take a 1,500-yard shot?
Not at a
Yeah, I
normal.
would. I couldn't fathom that being with the
With
a second and a half hang time. Like too much happens.
we got some AR 500 steel out there,
Sure,
1,500.
yeah, that's
we'll
one
cut it
thing.
out, look like
Yeah,
a deer. You can shoot at it all
yeah.
you want, but no.
So we'll have to talk more about what we got upcoming because
Okay. We'd love to.
if you want to do it now, we can, or we can do it another time. But
Well, we might need to come back here. I don't
Yeah,
know. This
we
is
can
pretty
come back,
comfortable.
yeah.
I don't know. We are going to watch a movie later, right? I'm sitting in this seat,
Yeah.
man.
100%, yeah, we could definitely.
Well, we definitely have to come back.
Come
We'd
back
love
or-
to come
Yeah.
back about the Project 22 stuff too when you're ready
Yes.
to
When
roll
will
that out.
you be getting that out? You
Ooh.
think it'll be this fall or?
Ooh, you're asking a big question that I don't have the answer to. The reason I don't is because right now there's a grant. There's a grant that we're looking at getting in on, and the deadline's July 18th, and you have to begin. That program has to be in full swing by September.
Okay.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah, for a program that's mental health focused for vets and active duty that requires peer support specialists that require 12 hour of prerequisite training.
Yeah, to
12
get your
hours
people
online.
trained, which is
Right.
right. be a chore, right?
And then there's
Right.
80 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That
Wow.
80 hours of coursework that's proctored, that's with an instructor. I work a full-time job while I manage the nonprofit. All of my other guys
Oh yeah.
do the same.
Yeah.
So we're working with the reps, the powers that be, to figure out how we can get that 80-hour course trained up. Because I'll tell you, doing a sit down like this for a weekend a month is going to put us in 2 years. We'll be certified.
Yeah,
That's not.
absolutely.
That won't work.
Right.
So I'm working to track down some peer support specialists that are veterans that are already certified
Right.
that I can kind of put into work. But then that's where the employees come into play, right? I got to have a director. I got to have a coordinator. I got to have this. And then I'm firmly against the remote working when you're servicing veterans for mental
Right.
health or whatnot.
No.
I want us to have a home office
Yep.
or a home base that our director can go in and they can meet and they can do what they need to do. So that requires an office space. It doesn't have to be huge, but it needs to be something. Then we got to furnish it. Then we got to do all these
Right.
things. So that's where this grant comes in. And I learned that I didn't want this from the 988 hotline, and that's a whole nother thing that I'm not going to get into. But that's where I kind of like mental health shouldn't be just a telephone. Sure,
Right.
telephone options there, but
Yeah, you need
let's-
to sit with somebody.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
we need to
they
sit
need to
down
sit
with
with-
people.
absolutely.
Because by the time they've
So-
dialed,
Yeah,
it's already at a point where somebody needs to be with them.
Well,
right?
I challenge you to look into the 988 hotline for vets. I'd love to dive into it with you, but it's bad.
no, but
It's-
we know
it's
enough
bad.
about
Yeah.
males. It's a 16-second decision. and-
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to.
Yeah.
Somebody
So-
needs to be standing right there. Make sure you're safe. and-
Absolutely.
yeah.
So part of this Project 22, we'd be working with local law enforcement doing
that's what I was
like
wondering.
crisis intervention. Hey,
for
we
sure.
got somebody. We've got them on the phone. We're here in person. Whatever, and we're
And we need them on the
we're
way to the house.
responding. Like
Yep.
I'm showing up.
Yeah.
Another peer specialist is showing up, talking to these guys who are in crisis in the moment. These men and women that we're working with, trying to get them through it. And there might be drugs, there might be alcohol involved. we don't
Weapons,
know,
yeah,
but
who knows?
yeah, we're showing up and we're working with law enforcement so that we can we
Right.
can help these folks through
Right.
this. So when, I don't know. I just know that I've got Danielle. She's going through the course, and she's something fierce. Funny enough, not funny. Funny enough though, she is somebody that the nonprofit I helped when she lost her son to suicide, who happened to be a friend of mine.
Wow.
So, and her son's best friend is a team member who's going to be a big part of this program.
Okay.
Wow. That's
So
cool. Very
funny
cool.
enough, right? It's crazy how the good Lord brings us all together and does all these
Right.
things, but it came at a cost.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
absolutely.
the tough part.
Yeah.
Well, can it piggyback on the fire department chaplain folks because they're already in that something bad's happened
So I guess that would be
modality, right? And
Yeah,
every
so-
department probably has one at least to get it going.
there's a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they're peer support specialists, qualified, certified, but you have to have a certain certification to be able to work with and actually show up to these calls.
because they
for
do
the police department.
notifications and things.
Right. So, and
wonder if there's a
realistically,
bleed
the biggest,
over there.
biggest part of this is being there in the crisis, in the moment.
Yeah.
Being able to take
Right.
action and
Right.
be able to talk them down and talk them to getting help, talking to
Yeah,
them
you
to
know the
work with us,
resources
like,
too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like
Get
work
them
with
in front
us,
of 'em.
like trust in us, and let us get with you to get you through this, and let's get your life back on track.
Back
'cause,
on track, yeah.
Again, the military doesn't
Yeah.
do it when you go to get out. Sure,
Yeah, I
it
see an
provides some things.
interagency, whether it's a state patrol, whoever's the
Yeah.
local domain, could be
Yeah.
a fish and
Right.
game guy,
Yeah.
Right.
is on the way there, and then he calls your, guy
Yeah,
on duty.
calls us.
Meet
right?
me at the thing. This is
That's-
what we're working with,
that's
right? Or
the
side
hope.
of the road or
Yep.
whatever.
That's the hope. That's the goal. That's what we're aiming for.
Cool.
Again, this is a brand new program that we haven't even launched yet. This is something that we're currently developing. This is the first time I've talked about it publicly.
awesome, man.
Like this is
It's
an
fantastic.
idea.
We
We
wanna-
deal.
we wanna
I love
support
it.
it,
I love
so-
it. Yeah,
This-
absolutely.
yeah, this-
Let us know how we can.
Well, when
Yeah.
is the fishing tournament?
We don't do a fishing tournament. We've been a part of fishing tournaments before.
Yeah. Because I thought there was one on the website. Isn't there pictures?
There was a picture. There was
Okay,
pictures
okay.
of a fishing tournament. That's put on by another nonprofit
Okay.
that we were fortunate enough to take
Work with,
part in at
okay.
that point in time. We've done like two groups go out on fishing trips and stuff like that at the same time, that type of stuff. But we've got so many other things that doing a tournament,
Yeah.
man alive, that's
Just
a
do
lot.
what you're doing.
Or
well,
even
right?
just doing what you're doing with me with the pheasants. I would love to help you set you guys up and get you to where you take a group, stay in the cabins.
Yeah.
And even if they're not in mine, I know some other outfitters and places that we could set something up like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I see such a benefit from what you do when you're at my place. I would
Yeah.
love to help
Hence-
set you guys up where you can do it somewhere else too.
Hence the reason I've talked about doing it twice a year,
Yeah.
or one back to back.
Yeah.
It's just the time and availability. The way it's written with us is that a member has to be a board member, a team member has to be on location.
Right. Right.
That way, if there is problems, like I'll step in. I'll be listen. If you're coming out to one of our events, we love to have you. We're excited for it. But if you're the guy that's gonna rest his shotgun on his foot, saying it's not a big deal, it's unloaded,
Yep.
or you're gonna point a gun at somebody, I'm sending you home.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a choice. My responsibility is first the safety of these people that we're bringing out,
Yep.
and the second is like there is no second.
There
It's
is
just
no
It's all
second.
got to be
Got- all
vetted
gotta
and
be
follow
said.
the procedure.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
hence the safety. Like as I said, we have some whiskey, we have some beer,
Yeah.
and if you're not comfortable drinking, that's fine. You don't have to.
You don't
It's-
have to.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's totally fine. But here's the deal: we crack a bottle of Basil Hayden or whatever it be. The moment you choose, hey, I'm going to have a drink, you're not touching a firearm.
Yeah. That's done.
Yeah,
That's over. It's
That-
off the
we
table.
do our shooting. Hey, is everybody's guns put away? Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
the
good.
beer light comes on, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Let's put
Open
them away.
center.
Lock them away, and we're gonna
Make sure they're
relax.
stowed away. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Like there's no
Absolutely.
reason why we had plenty of time to hey look at this one, look at that one.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had plenty of time for that before. It isn't.
It is
isn't
absolutely
okay. So
absolutely. Well, that's one thing with the pheasants. You guys are in early enough you're right at the beginning of my season. I start right that last weekend in September is my first weekend.
Yeah.
But I go clear into April.
Yeah.
So we could do a spring one too, and that would give
Oh.
them almost 6 months apart.
Yeah. Maybe
And
we
that
could-
would give
yeah.
you 2 a year. We could figure something out like that. You and me can talk about that. And then if there's other outdoor stuff, I can help you with the HRO adventures. We should be able to work in with you on some of that outdoor stuff. And I think both Dave and I are, we haven't talked, of course, but just seeing how we're responding to you right now, we would love to have you back on this fall.
Yeah.
Wait
Love
till
to help
after the.
promote and just whatever makes sense.
If you felt comfortable and you wanted to do something, we would do something special just at that time.
Sure.
And talk to the guys that are there. We'd set something up for that weekend.
Yeah.
That we would come in and record just for you guys or whatever, just for your, or we would do it just for the
We could
podcast
put it
too.
out, yeah.
But
Let's
we
talk
would
more
also
about
do it
that,
later
for sure.
We'll stay in touch.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm going to be listening to the scanner now when I hear about the bonfire here at your house.
Now 9-1 and just wait. Right?
You'd be the guy like, hey, what are you guys doing here? Rusty gave us a call. All right. Hey, there's food in the shop. There's this there. Go ahead and make yourselves at home. Have a good time.
Well, Rusty, we're up to the point where we got to go through Rusty's calendar. What's coming up before we sign out?
Well, it's summertime. The kids are there working, and that's the great thing is I'm getting a few things done around there. But the chicks, we've got the last set of chicks are coming in. These will be the ones that the guys will be hunting after the first of the year.
Okay.
And so it's nice to have those coming in. It's a lot easier to raise chicks when it's almost as warm outside as it is in the brooder
Yeah,
house.
because they needed the heat, right? Yeah, we
Because I
figured that
needed
out.
the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, last week when the heat was here, we had fans going with the doors open because it was too hot inside.
Yeah.
Trying to cool it down to make it only the 100 degrees as it was outside.
And how many chicks do you get for that order?
This order that's coming in this is only a 700 chick order.
Okay.
So,
How many do you have in a year?
I'll do about 4,000 birds a year.
Jiminy Christmas.
And that's something.
Yeah,
So
and
he
then-
goes to Spokane Airport and he picks up chicks.
Yeah. Well, and then now I've been picking them up at the truck stop.
And the trucks.
I can go all
Meeting
day.
the truck
I
stop
can
halfway,
do this
yeah.
all day. Yeah. We go to the truck stop
We
and pick
have
up
to
chicks.
clarify sometimes what we're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
It's not that kind of podcast.
so yeah. But yeah. So
I rode in a truck with Rusty and we picked up chicks and my wife won't let me come out here anymore.
That gets you into trouble.
yeah, we get you in trouble. Yeah, yeah. Luckily, my
Pheasant
wife
chicks.
knows what.
Yeah.
Right.
She thinks it's an old
chicks.
joke now. She doesn't even
There you
smile
go.
when she
Yeah.
say the joke.
It's like, all right, I've heard it before.
Yeah.
But so we'll be doing that, getting things ready that way. But I mean, we're just right now. It's raising pheasants, watching trail cams. I've got
Putting
a couple
brooder
out,
stuff together.
and everything is like, oh my word, I put it in the wrong spot. I need to put it over here. And then my first picture comes back and the sun's right in it. I can't even see what the deer is that's in there. I did get a picture of a monster, absolute monster, antelope buck. If somebody wants pictures of a Boone and Crockett antelope buck,
I do.
I
Yeah.
will.
Go right there.
I'm telling you what, I can take you on a tour. That's an HRO
nice.
adventure tour right there.
That'd be
Because
something.
God, he was just huge.
I'm praying for the day they open a season for us.
Oh
here.
my word.
Which I think it's possible. I just think it's a long
possible.
way.
Well,
down.
I think they should.
It'd be a moneymaker for them.
In my political pull with that I have none with the Fish and Wildlife Department. It is the dumbest thing in the world that the commission will not approve a season, or that they're not pushing for one.
Yeah.
Well, conservation is the best way to
You gotta manage
increase
this stuff, right?
$13.50 a try
Yeah.
to get into
For a
this
draw,
deal.
yeah, a tag.
Just to get into
Draw.
the draw. Okay, if they really want to make some money, they could put it in for the raffle, which we know that the raffles get bought out.
Oh, yeah.
Which somebody's going to pitch in some big
Yeah.
bucks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so don't cry to me and tell me that we can't study the antelope
Don't
and
have
we
any
don't have
funding,
any
yeah.
funding when we're leaving 50 to
It'll
100
fund
grand
itself.
on the table
Yeah.
Oh, you think that's
just by
it?
doing for
I think it's more than that.
2 tags.
I think it's a bunch of things.
Yeah,
but,
I think there's a lot of money out there.
Ah,
If you open up just one
One little small
tag,
section.
one tag.
Yeah.
well, play the governor tag gift
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
"Hey, we're
That'll
going to do a
fund you.
governor. We're gonna sell it at one of the big
That'll
banquets in
fund
the
you for a
state."
couple years.
Hey, I'm just telling you, you could be the first guy to shoot an antelope in the state of Washington.
Somebody'd pay for that.
You think somebody would pay for that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, you know, Dave knows enough people in production already. I'm really building you up, Dave. Knows enough people in production already. We could probably get it filmed for them.
Yeah.
You know, if they wanted it. Some of
Yeah.
these guys with money don't want it. They don't
Yeah.
want that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, I had 66 of them at my house.
Yeah, this could be a
in
moneymaker,
the winter.
fund some things and,
And-
manage it. You know.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the only bunch of 66 in the county.
I
In
think-
this county.
Yeah, I think we got.
It's just
Neat-
it's
neat
just
animal.
Chris, it's just ridiculous
Yeah.
that it isn't funding
Well,
itself.
All right, so we need to do an
conservation-
antelope one.
Conservation of an animal, like that's a big deal. When
Oh,
When
huge.
you
Yeah.
put them on
Absolutely huge.
a list that they can be hunted, and they're managed appropriately. There's
Yeah.
no other better way to manage an animal.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Especially
absolutely.
when it
So
boils
we've talked
down to
about
you,
having
You
a-
want to talk about money? Come on now, folks, you're missing out.
Yeah. Well,
We talked about an antelope
And I'm
podcast,
talk-
right?
Yeah, and I'm talking about the politicians.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
really
Not
want
you about the money. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
politicians' money.
you really want to get me going? Let's talk about hunting predators. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
gosh, yeah.
that might be a 3-part series.
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah.
Well, we
I have a
are,
lot of strong opinions on predators.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're landowner and managed animals and stuff, so you got an insight to it.
yeah,
so,
absolutely. Well, I know we've been going long, Dave.
We
I'm sorry,
are,
but me
that's all
and
right.
Cortland were having fun.
Yeah.
I was just listening.
Yeah,
here,
I,
just
I
enjoying
got a
it.
feeling this is going to
Think we'll have to
continue
come
after we
back.
call it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, anything else on the calendar we need to cover?
Nothing that I've got
that's
on the
it for now,
calendar
huh?
for now. You know, that's like I said, this time of year, you should be out warming your bow up. I mean,
Yeah, your
everybody
mule
that's
deer
gonna be
archery
archery
guys.
Yeah.
stuff,
So
we're, you
check
know,
out those dead nuts targets, right?
You're almost
'cause
2 weeks or 2 months away
Yeah.
from the opener.
You should be switching from your
You-
block to your dead nuts to really
Boy,
start
yeah.
aim small, miss small, right?
You know, and after we got done with Cole last week, and now the targets and everything else, I've noticed that you're not giving yours up very quickly. They're
it's
just,
full of holes.
exactly. I tell you what, those dead nut
Out there
targets
doing R&D.
are phenomenal. This is phenomenal. I
Interesting.
can't wait to get Cole.
Yeah,
here.
they're cool.
So
what are they?
the Dead Nuts Outdoors. They're out of a company out of Montesano.
Okay.
They have developed a target, which is
I'll find you the picture.
yeah. Well, we'll do it off the podcast because we
Yeah.
need to get this wrapped up.
Interesting.
But we did a whole podcast with Cole, and you can get on and look. And we bought a target because I wanted to do.
Sure.
And Dave ended up he got his bow all tuned up, new string and everything, and so Dave has.
Oh, okay. Very
So it's a
cool.
life size,
Yeah.
but it's flat. So and you'll shoot through it. So you got to have your target, your
Okay.
your block target or whatever
Yeah.
behind it. But it gives you a realistic eye picture, and
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah, they're
It-
really realistic
training with that.
photos.
it's gonna speed your training up. It's gonna raise you to a new
Yeah.
level.
And the
of being
picture I
able
just
to-
showed you, it's got a NFC chip in it with the appropriate anatomy.
Okay.
So that
Shows
was
you what you
a
hit.
21-yard shot in my backyard. So you've got the shadows, the hairs.
Yeah.
You know, you got to find your spot. You can't, like in a 3D target, I can't see where the foam's been chewed out. That's
Yeah.
obviously the bullseye or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it.
Sure.
This here, they don't self-seal, but they kind of do. It's made out of the same stuff like a realty yard sign is, that hollow
Yeah.
honeycomb kind of foam. And then the vitals pop in and out, so they send you extra vitals, which is kind of
Oh,
cool.
cool.
So after, I don't know, I got maybe 50 shots into it, and the vitals are still good.
Wow.
You just kind of push the back, and from 20 yards, I can't see where all my arrows have been going. So you shoot it, and then you walk up and you scan it with your phone, and it shows you the whole anatomy. And I can take the ribs away. I can move the liver out of the way. I can move
Wow.
and find the
Dissect
heart.
it
So that was
Yep.
so that confirmed that was a heart shot from 21 yards.
That's the one you had to show off. Though.
yeah. They didn't see the one like in the neck or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
But
now,
but the idea was for me, I hadn't shot in a long time, and then got the bow redone and everything. So pretty familiar with anatomy, pretty familiar with animals, knew my spots, found kind of the vital V, so to speak. I was a little bit low. And it was like, I would have bet my paycheck. I know exactly what I'm doing. And that confirmed, little bit off.
a little bit off.
And so if I was shooting block targets, keep going into the ring, okay, good enough, and then pack it up. Here I can transition from the block to now very fine tuning specific before you go hunt, which should make you more ethical, better shot. But within 3 or 4 shots, it improved years worth of data, right? Like I was a little bit off where I thought my sweet spot was. So I was able to replicate it going.
And they got
okay.
other animals. Yeah,
they
mule
got all,
deer,
yeah.
whitetails.
Yeah,
Like
predators.
Yeah.
they
They do, yeah.
I think
they got
have-
bears.
They got bears. It's the only predator I think they might have.
Do they have a lion in there? I thought they had them. I thought they had a cougar.
They might have a cougar in there.
But the
But
idea was
they're adding all of these.
Yeah. Have you ever done steel shooting, steel pistol shooting, or even with a rifle?
yeah.
So it's instant feedback, right? And everybody around you knows if you hit the thing or not.
That's right.
And this had that. This is the first thing I found with archery where, number one, I was trying to cheat and find where the arrows have been going. I couldn't, the material doesn't lend itself to that till you've got lots of shots in it, and then you just replace it. So there was no cheating. I got to use my proper,
Yeah.
shooting sequence. It messes up your breathing, right? It feels like that animal standing back. I put it back kind of in the flower bed, so it was in some branches.
Yeah.
And it kind of, all of a
Makes
sudden,
a
the
real feel.
world kind of, and you got to, and it was like, I haven't done this in a long time. And it was a great transition from being able to throw the block target out and just, I was like Robin Hooding arrows,
Yeah.
right? It was like I was getting decent at it. And this was like the next level of getting ready to go out there. And it's they're $170 for the fancy one.
Oh yeah.
That's not bad.
So I looked at $500 3D targets, and I'm like, number one, I don't want this to stand in my yard. Number two, this one folds up, and I could take it to his place.
Yeah, it'll fold up
and
into a
set it
box.
up. Yeah.
About 2 foot
It's
square.
just that real estate, like you'd stick a for sale sign kind of material. So
Great idea.
it did tons of things at very low cost that even a fancy Delta McKenzie, outside elk, just after a while, I've worn away at the target area, so I know where it's going, right?
Yeah.
This thing here was, years of practice in a couple shots, and I was like, as a training guy, whether it be fire department or aviation, I was always in training departments, and it's like,
Well, and
this
with the-
is
with the-
accelerating your knowledge here. So.
Yeah, the vital chip in there, and being able to put things away and dissect and be able to do it all on your phone. They're now working on hooking it up so
so
that
now link it and
you
have
can have one in
tournaments
your and I can have one at my place, and you and I can get online and
competition, huh?
the competition.
Yeah.
We can shoot, and we don't have to be together.
Can you use your rifle on it or just bow?
But you can use your rifle.
It's
on
an
it.
archery target, but
One time. You can do anything
I was going to
once.
say, yeah. I think it's sold as an archery target.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why you couldn't,
I think that
work it to do something else.
I think it would be interesting to I bet Cole
We
would
need
work
to
with
experiment.
us to experiment with that, because if you're shooting most of the time and you're just shooting into that, that fabric is going to just let a little hole go through.
Yeah.
It's not going to deteriorate.
Yeah,
as
you could
fast.
come up with a self-sealing.
You
deal.
could shoot it a lot, and it would just kind of seal up itself because the bullet's going through and then just sealing
I
back
got a
up.
460. If I shoot it too close, it'll burn it down.
Yeah, that's right. But that's the other thing with the rifles. You're going to put it out at distance. You're not going
yeah.
to shoot this thing anything under 100. You're going to put it out. I would say you're going to put it out there 200, 250.
Yeah, I mean,
I would think so.
I sight in my rifles at 200. I don't need to sight in at 100. I want to make sure that I'm good
Yeah.
to 200.
Trust
When
me, if I can hit it at 200, I can hit it at 100.
Yeah, exactly. When I take vets out, on the big game hunt, my rifle's there. Like,
Yeah.
I know that we take them out and make sure they can shoot. Like, whatever you want to bring it. Great. I have mine as a backup. Like, they can,
Sure.
this gal, she used mine last year. She still took it out. She still shot
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I know it's dead nuts at 200 yards.
Yep.
And I know that at 300 yards, it's got a 7-inch drop.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know what it is.
Well,
So
and these magnums, if you've got a can on the end, that is tuning down these magnums, that recoil and that
Yep.
sound so much that people are being able to shoot those magnums without being as beat up as usually, or as loud as it used to be, as bad as it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I know guys now that are going that have been shooting cans now for the last couple of years. When guys show up at the shooting range without them, they leave.
Yeah.
I don't need to sit here and listen to all this noise and and all this other. No, I'm done. I just pack it up
when
and
I
go
get
home.
my new setup, we'll have to sit down.
Okay, well, give me a call.
Yeah,
Like I said, I got a brand new one too that I haven't done anything with, so I'm
what
ready.
brand is yours?
Mine's the Silencer Central.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah, you know me. I
yeah.
it was a pure impulse buy. I'll tell you all about it someday. But you know, what happened was I tried to buy a new rifle, and so I'm at the mule deer. I'm at the MDF show, and I'm walking around all these, you know, Bergera and all these rifle makers, Fierce. I don't know. There must have been 10, 15 of them there, and then a lot of custom guys. And I wanted a certain caliber, and I wanted a certain way to go, and I'm talking to them, and they're going, okay, and you can put your can on this one. And then we go to the next one, and you can put your can on this one, and then put a good can on this one. And so I'm standing there in the Bergera booth, and they wouldn't build me one. They wouldn't build the caliber I wanted.
What caliber?
I wanted a 280 Ackley.
Okay.
Well, they quit building 280 Ackleys. That's a whole other story.
I think Seekins still does.
Yeah, and so
Yep.
I'm not so sure that Bergera is not picking it back up. But anyway, we're standing there. Well, the show's closing, right? We're at the end of the show, and all I do is hang around the show all day. And so me and Skip are standing there, and these guys are all talking, and we have like all of the Bergera guys. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 of them all standing there, and it's just Skip and I. We have them all to ourselves. The show's quiet as quiet can be. We're all just kind of standing there. And everybody there has a can on their rifle, their hunting rifle, except for 2, me and Skip. As we walked out of there, we walked out of the show, and I looked over at Skip and I says, everywhere we went, they said we could put a can on, we could put a can on. Everybody we asked said they already were shooting a can.
Yep.
I said, we just talked to 7 different guys at the Bergera booth, and they were all standing there telling us that they all had a can on. I says, you and me may be the only 2 guys in this whole show that are not shooting with a can on. And so, you know, we went back to the motel that night, and then we went out with some other outfitters that night and went to dinner, and I was talking to all them, and they're just like going, yeah, we shoot a can, yeah. And I'm going, am I like the only guy here that doesn't shoot a can? They all looked at me and go, yeah,
Yep.
you're the only one here. So
We talked about you, in fact, because you were the only 2 that don't.
well, wake up, guys, you know. And so the next morning we walk in, and we're walking.
Slap your money down.
We're heading to, I don't even know what we were going to somebody's booth to do something. And as we're walking by the Silencer Central booth, I just looked over at Skip and I says, I'm buying a can. And he goes, what?
Yep.
And I just walked over and I says, here's my hunting rifle. This is what I got. This is what I want to shoot. I'm shooting 7mm. And the guy just hands me a Banish 30. And he goes, this is the one you want. And I said, okay. And he hands me a clipboard, sign up, puts the paperwork down. He says, stand right there. It'll be about 5 minutes. And this row, they got like 12 girls standing there doing,
Fingerprints?
no, doing all of your paperwork for you.
Oh.
So you just walk over to one of them. So
Yeah.
they just come over, grab your paperwork, call your name. You walk over there. They fill everything out, and Silencer Central does everything. They follow you all
start
the
to
way
finish.
through. So start to finish.
And it ships to your door.
And it showed up
You
at my
better.
door. I didn't have to go pick it
Yeah.
up. So I was like,
That's great for us rural folk, right? Like,
exactly.
I think Silencer. There's a way. I think there's a way to do it for Silencer Co. as well.
I'm sure there is, yeah.
Silencer Shop. I don't know. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
But anyway,
Squirrel.
so that's I bought one.
Yeah.
And I came in the mail.
Yep.
There you go.
Nice.
So now all I got to do is screw it on the end of the gun and re-sight in, and it came right as we were getting ready for hunting season with my
Yeah.
rifle. And I went, no, I'm not going to screw up. I know where I'm shooting.
Well, and you probably shut down your gun range at a certain point, right? Like, hey, we're not doing a bunch of shooting now because it's deer season, or do you just keep it going?
Oh no, we because it's there at the cabins.
Yeah.
We can manage who's coming and who's going.
Right.
And it usually is only the guys in the cabins. We don't open it up for just guys to come over and just shoot whenever. So, you know, me and my buddies or the neighbors, we all get together and we'll shoot and that kind of deal. But this
In all
one,
your free time.
with this new long range shooting, we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
You know, with HRO Adventures, you know, that's a whole nother business model for us. It's
Yeah,
kind of
you
like
guys
adding something in there.
Yeah, you guys be doing long distance
Right.
competition shoots and all sorts of stuff.
The only thing is I'm setting up one shooting area.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought ahead. Do I want 5 shooting stations? Do I want just
Sure.
one shooting station? How's that going to work? I just ran into some guys that shot a long range shooting course over in Elmira, or the Elmira Wilbur area.
Yeah.
That one, they actually went out and you got a course. It's kind of like a golf course.
You hike it, you hoof it.
And you have to hike. You
Yeah,
have
I
to
got a
park
couple
here and
buddies that
hike
do it.
here and go
Yeah.
do this thing. And then they keep track of your score, and
It's
then
like
you come in. It's a 2-day
tack, but with a rifle.
Yes, but it's with a rifle. And as soon as I told them I was putting something in, they came to me and go, "Well, can we do this?" Well, yeah. And actually, on my hunting leases, you know, I told them, I says, if you're wanting to do something, we could do something right here in
Yeah.
you know, in my area, just on my hunting leases. I could probably get us enough.
Yeah.
And come to find out, 2 of my neighbors that I don't lease from, I just hunt next to them. But they're good families. I mean, we're good neighbors. They said they would put their ground in if we did some kind of a tack shoot. So those things are, you know,
Not hunting, but a competition.
but a
shoot.
competition long range shooting.
Very
So the
cool.
guys could come out and kind of do something like that.
Sure.
You know, mine, I'm still liking the whole organic thing of what you guys do when you guys come pheasant
Yeah.
hunting, where you have a group of guys, you can come out and a group of guys
Yeah.
can go up there and you can ding some steel out there and you know, be safe, have a nice place, and then, you know, have your camp,
Have our time.
have your time together to do your thing. And that's what I'm hoping to build on that. The other thing is for some reason I have become the spot to have your bachelor party. So you know, so we're
you're doing
we're
bachelor
working-
parties now, huh?
So we do bachelor parties
outdoor
now.
style.
Outdoor style. So the bachelor party comes. They shoot pheasants at least once, if not. Some of them will do a second time. They'll stay in the cabins. They rent both cabins so that they have the whole place
Like
to
we do,
themselves.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a real quiet, peaceful, into the road. You know where the cabins are. So it works out really well, and it's a safe environment. You know, and it's something that we tell them. You know, if you're pulling the alcohol out, the guns all need to be put away.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be safe around here. You know, our neighbors don't need to be hearing a bunch
Yep.
of stuff going on down here, and this is how this is going to work. And
Hooting and hollering
here's the
crazies.
rules. Yeah, you know, they live out here for a reason as well. And so the thing is, there's probably only one neighbor, and he's 3 miles away. That would be the only one that would hear them, even if they shot at the long range shoot. You know, those cabins are a long ways from
Yeah, they
from
are.
people, and they're pretty safe.
Yeah.
And we have areas that we've put this up in. Even our shooting preserve, you know, when we got 2 groups going, or you know, this year we're getting up to where we're having 4 or 5 or 6 groups all going at the same time. Nobody bumps into each other. Nobody can even see
Yeah.
each other. You can actually hear guys shooting over the hill, but you can't.
Yeah.
You never see them. You know, and so that's a good thing for us. And so that works out pretty well.
Awesome.
But yeah, so
Lots of cool stuff.
a lot of cool
And
stuff.
where can they find you?
Of course, they can find me.
Where?
On the hiddenranchoutfitters.com is the OG, and then there's the HRO Adventures website that we're also putting on.
Are you guys on Facebook?
We are on Facebook under Hidden Ranch Outfitters.
Okay.
I don't have a HRO Adventures page, but we do have websites for
But you have
both.
a website. You know.
Yeah, for both. So that's kind of a fun way to do this. The summers are always slowest for us. Kids are on, everybody's on vacation, running around. We just went through a big season though of the who got drawed. You know, everybody had to have their stuff in by the end of May,
Yep.
20th of May, and then they just came out with the draw results a week ago.
Nothing.
And so,
I got
yeah,
skunked this
yeah,
year.
you and me both.
Did you? Yeah.
So
I think next year should be good.
There you go.
yeah, well, you know,
We'll see.
I'm getting up there high enough now with a lot of my points. They're starting to click some of them off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll ever build enough back to get some of that back. But
At what point do they fall off? At what point do you
when you get drawed,
when you get
as soon as
when
you get drawed, you go back.
I know that, but I figure if you get so many, they'll just disappear.
No,
Like I
Should be
just
there.
no.
I just
Well,
wonder.
they tell me I haven't disappeared. They keep taking my money, saying I
Keep taking
still
your
have
money, that's right.
26 points or whatever.
Cool.
So I put in every year for all my disabled stuff because I meet the requirements for the fishing game. That's pretty much it. I mean, for the disabled, you've got options. You've got anything from juvenile ram, you got antlerless
Oh, yeah, you got-
elk, you
pick up a
goose,
whole.
Yeah.
everything. You got the whole kit and caboodle in there. So
Yeah.
I put in for a bunch of that stuff, and oftentimes I got to be careful if I submit for 2 or 3 and I get drawn for the 2 or 3. I don't have the paid time off to go
Yeah.
do all
Yeah,
three.
exactly.
So
So you don't do the multi-season?
I have one. So funny story. I got out of the service. My wife and I put in for it both. The first time ever, and we both got drawn.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll never see it again.
But this now in today's day, right? Like there's so much wrong with the fish and game, right? We're not going to go down that track. Rusty,
Not
we're
today. Not today.
But there are so many folks like, oh, I'll never do
Mm-hmm.
it again. Well, all these people that don't get drawn. There's plenty of people that never go pay
Yep.
the $173 to
Yeah.
go get that multi-season tag, which is now going to be way more expensive
Yeah, I know.
because the increase.
Yep.
Anyway, not going down that rabbit trail, but there is a chance that one day I'll get it again without having to have 1,000.
Well, the first
The odds are
multi-season
starting to
tag,
swing. Yeah.
the first multi-season tag that I got, the only reason I put in was I knew I couldn't get drawed. Or I just assumed I couldn't.
Yeah.
But it was because not everybody buys.
Yeah.
Right.
And they wouldn't let me buy the year before when they had extra tags because there was some left over didn't get
Right.
paid for. So they put it back out there. Well, they wouldn't sell to me because I wasn't one that had put in and
You
didn't get
hadn't
drawn.
had an application.
You had to have had an application. So
Yeah.
I thought, fine, because I now that I know that people are getting ticked
Yeah.
off and everything, they'll have some for sale. I'll be able to buy it later, and so that's how I did it.
Yeah.
Well, so the next year, they changed it to they draw each time. So I didn't get drawn 3 times last year.
Jeez.
And so, yeah.
I've thought about switching.
But I'm pretty sure they got
lumber.
my name in there that says, do not give
Yeah.
Rusty
Yeah.
a
That's
multi
what
It's
it
just
is
like
for
the
me,
base,
too.
you know, I want to be stationed in Hawaii. Oh, Korea.
Oh, you want to go to San
You
Diego?
gotta put, yeah,
Here's the ice cold
exactly.
Virginia.
So you got to
Sure,
put
or
down what you
Japan.
don't want, right?
don't want.
Yeah. Well, on that note, what do you say we wrap it up?
I say we do.
Because otherwise we could just keep going.
I know.
Yeah, we probably could.
We are super comfortable here. I'm loving the man cave.
It's awesome.
Cortland,
Yeah.
I'm glad you invited us
Yeah,
here.
thank you
Or did
again
I
for the
invite
invite.
myself? I'm not sure, but I'm glad we're here. Let's put it that way.
Of course.
So
All right,
we'll
well,
have to come back. This will
yeah.
be fun.
It's not done yet. There'll be plenty more done by the time you
It's
guys get
awesome.
here.
Very cool.
I'll
Very cool.
some hunting pictures up.
Nice.
I'll have some deer.
Well, I'm not sure my videos are going to be.
Yeah, it should be great.
You think it's been how long?
Oh, I wonder if it's still running.
It's been a while. They might have shut off on.
We've had them shut off before. We've
Okay.
talked a lot. So
Well, from East Wenatchee, Cortland, thanks so much for inviting us and the
Yes,
hospitality. Rusty, thanks for setting it up.
yeah,
And we'll talk to everybody on episode 15. How's that sound?
that sounds great.
All right. Take
Thank
care,
you, guys.
everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Take
Be
care.
safe. All right.
All right.